Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Premiere Uncut. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are currently joined by a whole bunch of people on Skype, Discord, and on Google+. So I'm going to raise the mics on everybody and see.
Well, and also the other thing that I was going to try to go over too is like gases like oxygen, nitrogen, all those things need less energy to move. They don't need as much energy to move. That's why they float. That's why they get excited.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't
different gases work differently with different atmospheric pressures, and I mean everything's in correlation.
Yeah.
Paul,
well, you could settle this pretty quickly. I mean, all you have to do is remove the water from a pressurized air tank, remove the water, and show that there's still pressure there. And then you can say, look, here's pressure, here's the gradient, I've removed all the liquid.
Do I have to do this again, really?
Can I do it? I can show you a video. First,
come on. Go
Monday
ahead.
when I'm at work on Monday, I'm a spray painter. I work with compressors. I will actually put the compressor on, show with the pressure, and I'll put our heat condenser off that pushes the water out, and I'll still show you there's pressure in the container. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a demonstration of, you remove the liquid, you remove the water, and you can show there's still pressure. Yeah, that's
okay.
what. Again, I don't see what the argument is. There shouldn't be this so much aggression. It's like, look, Spurs, here's the container. We've removed the liquid, and there's still pressure. End of subject. No more pressure talk. But instead of that, we just get. You should just believe there's something pressing on you because we say so, and we assume 14.7, so that's the number we give. Just show the demonstration. It ends the debate.
Spurs, you sure build a good narrative for yourself so you can recline in your chemotherapy chair. You are so out of it. My goodness.
I mean, this is what I get. Instead of just saying, look, Spurs,
from A to Z. Your argument has been devastated from A to Z.
All the water.
Your peer review can't even pass Nathan Oakley channel panel members. And you guys, 2 shows ago, are talking about how famous you're going to get because you discovered temperature as the container. You guys are ego tripped.
No, I didn't say that, 10th man. I don't know what the container is. If there is a container, we are contained.
But 2 shows ago, you and David Dallas are talking about how famous you're going to get for this new discovery. You're on an ego trip.
No, we're not looking for any kind of fame or fortune.
Sorry to interrupt you
like
two. I'm really sorry. Sorry, Spurs. Bear with me a sec. Hey, Adam. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Afternoon, everyone.
Have you?
Mr. Adam, what's up, man?
Hey.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior. Again, I can feel like the frustration from everybody. But we've got ball earthers. We've got Toady next week looking to show that pressure is, a real thing. We've got a flat earther on Nathan's panel here now saying, look, I can show in a tire, in a balloon, I can remove the water and there's still pressure. That's all we're looking for. It's not difficult. It's just science, right? You extract the water, you show there's pressure, we move on. That's it.
Stopping by to say hello.
Hey, Ranty. Hey.
Hey, Ranty.
I thought Paul gave you that demonstration when he was talking about air conditioning where they had to remove the water. Paul, you want to go over that?
Let's have a look.
Well, hang on a second. I'm taking care of
post that in a
diaper issues, so bear with me.
Okay, so when you got time, just post that video so we can review it and see how you're extracting all the water. There's no water liquid left, and there's still pressure.
He
Yeah, I'll
was
do it on
talking
Monday.
about the air conditioning units had to bleed all the water out or it would freeze and block the system. That's what he was talking about. And he said he was working on it when he was in the military. He was very familiar with that. And he went over that a whole show. Why
That's
didn't you
right.
bring...
Yeah.
I don't think even if I did the video, honestly, I don't think it would matter at this point. I mean, we've had other people that's been on this show that talk about air conditioning systems and how you have to evacuate and suck out all the air, or as much as you can. You can't do a 100% vacuum, but you have to suck out all the air out of that to get the moisture out. And also, you don't even want regular air in there. You mostly want Freon in there because that's what you want to do the cooling. Air isn't as efficient at cooling as Freon is. And you have gas pressure, which Freon turns at a gas at 14 degrees at sea level, or negative 14 degrees at sea level. So it doesn't take very much to turn it into a gas. So you can have gas pressure inside of a container without water in it. I don't know what more to say. And there's people. I was in the military.
No, I mean, what you're saying.
Hold on, we had air compressors.
Oh,
I'm not done
you're
talking,
saying.
Spurs, I'm not done talking yet. I was in the military.
Oh, sorry.
Standard air compressors that we used on the aircraft to fill tires, to use on equipment, they're like pneumatic systems. They have a water separator in them. They have to remove the water because if the water condenses inside the piston, it can damage the piston. That they remove the water and still have air pressure. I don't know what more to say. Everybody in the military, anybody that's done any kind of work, anybody along this lines deals with this every single day.
Yeah.
Say you can't have air pressure without water is fallacious. I'm sorry.
I understand, Paul. I understand. You know, again, I'm not trying to be rude, but what you're saying to me sounds like when the military guys explain Coriolis. I'm in the military. I fired guns. I have to account for spin. I have to account for rotation. Now, again, I'm not being rude, but you're just telling me a military story that you think happens.
This is not just a military story, Spurs. This is not just a military story. Okay? Mm-hmm. I work on these things every day. This was my experience. Not so. If you're going to throw my experience out the window, that's on you. But if you go talk, and this is different.
I know. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to make this personal. It's the same when you tell the military guys with sniper guys, you don't account for curvature. They say, "What are you saying? I'm lying? Are you saying that I go to war and I fire snipers and I'm not account?" You know, so. Paul, it's the same kind of again. For me, it's I get the same feeling.
No, Spurs, it is kind of different, Spurs, because Paul is saying he's actually done these things. Have we met somebody who has said they've accounted for Coriolis? That shooting a gun. Have we met? Has that been displayed? Has that been demonstrated? No, right?
Well, Chocolate, if you go to Jem's Discord, you'll hear people like Pure Anarchy, who says he's been in the military and he always accounts for done it? Curvature, rotation. And we're like, Pure, this is nonsense. The Earth's not rotating. How can you account?
He says he's done it, I'm not a liar. Or he's demonstrated it.
I work in the military. You know, so for
Spurs,
me,
listen,
unless
the problem
you see a demonstration
with people like Pure is that. Listen, Spurs, the problem with people like Pure is when they say they've done A, B, and C, they don't even reveal their identity, let alone the ability to verify the claims that they make. So why would you consider them to be even half credible when they're unverifiable evidence?
And again, not to be argumentative.
That's what I'm saying. Like this guy, you said this guy is just saying it, right?
Who says he would account for Coriolis, a military guy showing his face, showing you with a gun, showing you that he's accounting for Coriolis. Now, again,
you're changing. Hang on. 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, you said, "Show me proof, and it'll be the end of it." Paul comes and says, "Here's the proof. I worked on it," and now you're associating it to Coriolis.
But the other thing is, for Pure saying A, B, and C, you've got John, Quantum Eraser, saying that he was a rifle infantryman and he lived in halls down the corridors from the snipers, and they've never considered Coriolis. So which one do you accept or believe or think is true?
I know already that they don't account for Coriolis. I understand this. I'm just saying that what Paul is saying, that I was in the military, I've used technology that where they extracted all of the water and it was still pressurized. Now, again, can he demonstrate this with a tire, with a balloon, with a can, anything that is pressurized, and remove the water and still
Don't change the
show?
subject back. Who's this military man?
Me.
Pure anarchy.
Oh, which
Who?
one's talking about
A
me?
very loud,
Yeah,
short-tempered.
Pure anarchy.
You'd have to join
that knuckle. Hold on a second. That knucklehead. I challenged him about 3 years ago about his military background. He told me that the max effective range of the M16 was 800 meters. He's got big problems. He's a frigging retard. I'm telling you that the military does not account for Coriolis, no matter what they have in their field manuals, right? I fired expert with every single weapon the Army had when I was in. No Coriolis, nothing. My friends were all snipers. I did sniper training with them. I cross-trained with them. I personally made myself 1,300 to 1,500 meter shots, right? There is no Coriolis effect. It wasn't even brought up. No one ever mentioned it.
Spurs, you can tell it's true because
John, what's his
Spurs,
face?
listen.
Negator.
Spurs, hang on,
Was he
hang on,
in
Spurs,
the military?
listen.
Negator's another one.
Spurs, listen.
Again, I'm just saying we don't.
Spurs, listen. If Coriolis
Go
was
ahead,
really
Anthony.
a force, right, and really an effect, every gun would have an integrated compass so that they knew how much of a degrees they need to make a correction for each time they were pointed in. Because you couldn't look at the sun and work out what your angle was to your bearing. You would have to have it on a compass on the gun. You'd need to know your latitude and longitude and your declination adjustment so you could correct for the declination of the compass to be able to have a rough calculation of how much Coriolis correction you'd need, and guns don't have that.
Here's another one then, Anthony. Your favorite guy, Neil deGrasse, says that there was a famous American footballer when he kicked a goal, he missed because the.
Are you nuts?
This was Coriolis. I know it's crazy.
Nuts? You're going to
this is what I'm saying. When I hear Paul say to me, "We do these things,"
nothing to
this
do
is what I'm
with
thinking.
water and air conditioning.
I agree. And if you want me to show you my military background, I will send you a copy of my DD-214 that has my description of the job that I did, and you can go look and see what I did in the military.
No one's doubting that you're in the military.
Showing you my credentials. And here, you want to see my face?
No, I'm not doubting
that a minute ago. Here's my
no
face.
one's doubting that. We're simply saying that you
Paul.
have an experiment at your disposal.
He's against everything, and he just wants to prove temperature and get famous with Double D. They said it 2 shows ago. He's not going to listen to anything. It's a waste of time.
Pure anarchy is not credible because you can't verify his claims he makes.
It's not credible. Negator's not credible. You know, half of these military guys who say they've done things with Coriolis, and I agree.
Yeah, and
my point
you're arguing
is,
with them whether or not their version of anecdotal evidence is good or bad or true. Come on, Spurs.
I tell them it's nonsense. They can't prove rotation. There's nothing to prove. Nobody accounts for Coriolis, planes, snipers. Nothing accounts for any kind of spin. I know this, Anthony. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying, military guys saying that, something has happened on base, but not in the real world. Now, I'd like to see this in the real world. I would like to see water extracted in the real world. Why can't I finish? I would like to see water extracted in the real world and show there is still pressure, the same pressure.
Okay.
It's not the water that's giving the pressure.
Wait.
The air.
You said something earlier. You said same pressure.
Spurs, could I just say that? Could I clarify something? Is it that you want all the water out of the atmosphere as well as any water that's in the bottom of the container?
Any water that's in that container is the pressure. If you remove the water, you remove the pressure. Now, if they can remove the water,
he's just trying to trigger you, Paul. It's all he's doing. He's trying to trigger you, Paul. That's what he's doing.
I know.
Can I
hey, Spurs. Wait. Just stop just for a second. We have this thing in the U.S. I'm not sure where you're at, but we have this thing in the U.S. We call them vocational schools. Okay, and in these vocational schools, you can actually learn about air conditioning systems. You can learn about compressors. You can learn all these things. And I bet you say, hey, I want to learn about this thing. And you probably find, hey, I just want to sit on a class when you're doing X, Y, or Z. I bet you they would let you sit in on this class and not even have to pay for it. Now, if you wanted to get the piece of paper and the diploma, they would probably make you pay for the full course.
John's here now.
But if you're wanting to, this is something you can do.
Let's not, because I'm really not trying to argue about this. I'm really not trying to get anyone's
Spurs, come on.
I am not done talking. I was like, I bet you could probably go down there and they can show you the things that I'm talking about. Because they have these in every country. They have air compressors in every country. They have air conditioners in every country. And they probably have schools that teach people how to do these things. I got taught how to do it free in the military. So you could probably go to these schools, sit down and talk to them, and all these questions that you have could be answered, and they can actually probably demonstrate all this to you free of charge if you just want to learn.
It's cool. That sounds good. I mean, I'll definitely look into that.
Until you do that, don't challenge me.
I'm not challenging you. I'm saying to anybody. Again, let's kind of change the subject now. Let's focus on John. He's fantastic.
Changing the subject first when you're losing. You do that.
Because Paul, I'm not trying to make an argument. Look, you need to demonstrate this in front of everybody, not just for my benefit, but for everybody needs to see that you've extracted water and there is still pressure. Now, I'm not trying to argue about the thing. That's it, really, isn't it? It's like, yes, I can do it. I'll do it. No, I can't. I'll do it. Here it is, and that's it. What more? Otherwise, you're just bringing me into an argument. You're saying, Spurs, accept what I'm saying, and then just stop talking about it. And I'm like, well, can we just wait until you can demonstrate
I'll go with
this
that.
and then
Spurs, just accept what he's saying and we can all get on with it.
You see? Thank you very much. Can we get on with John's last night premiere?
Question for you, man. Because did you see the balloon I did yesterday? Because I think it's quite appropriate to the thing you're postulating in terms of pressure and water. Now, when I blew that balloon up, there was water vapor in my breath. Okay, so part of the pressure that was generated by the water that was in my breath. When I
glad you said that, because most people don't reckon.
What do you think happens to the water vapor at minus 20? Do you think it remains a gas, or do you think it turns firstly into a liquid, dribbles down the side of the balloon, and then freezes at the bottom of the balloon? Would you be happy to concede that all of the, well, let me finish first. Would you be happy to concede that all of the water that was in that gas, when stored at minus 20, will have turned into ice? Or is that a step too far?
So depending on the rapid temperature change, Adam. So what will happen generally? You pressurize a container, and it's trying to set up to full gradient.
Don't go off on a tangent. Let's just stick to the balloon, because you can comprehend what happens to water. You have personal experience, I would assume, of putting water into a freezer. And in most cases, you'll put it in liquid form, so it's already slightly less energetic. But what happens to that liquid water when you put it into minus 20 for an hour or two? It will turn into ice, yeah?
Yes, but again, there's a process that you're trying to overlook here. We're talking about a slow equalization or a rapid equalization.
No, it's not rapid.
So you put your balloon in the fridge, it'll be a slow equalization, yeah? So what will happen is the particles...
What do you mean by equalization, Spurs? What's equalizing? What do you mean by equalizing?
You're not letting me finish, Adam.
No, I'm asking you to I'm trying to go along with you, man. I'm just trying to take it step by step. So you've used the phrase equalization. I'm just asking you to clarify that before we move on. When you say equalization, what do you mean by that?
Okay. So you've got warm air blowing out of your mouth, right? So let's forget the balloon. You've got just your air. You breathe out, you blow out this warm air. That air that goes into the air is trying to equalize. So if it's warm, what you blow out will go up until it equalizes with the temperature around it. If it's cold air, it will go down and obviously try to equalize until it warms up. So the same thing will happen in a balloon. You blow warm air into a balloon. You've now taken it into an environment where it's cold, lower pressure, lower temperature in a container, and you'll have a gradual change here. Now, I don't understand what you were trying to achieve by doing this or try to demonstrate.
But
What
what
were you trying to
happens to the
demonstrate?
water?
What
Remain
aha, this
gaseous?
is what happened.
Does it induce a phase change to liquid and then to solid, or does it remain gaseous?
Obviously, over time, it's trying to so it's cooling down, this warm gas inside the balloon. So obviously, the longer you leave it in there, it will equalize with the area around it. So if everything is frozen in that freezer, then everything in the balloon will freeze. It will all be the same temperature when it equalizes, right?
Okay, so
but between
all
then
the
and the
same temperature, I
equalization,
agree with you there, but the nitrogen that's in there, that will still be gaseous because that doesn't reach its sublimation point until minus 200 degrees. So even at minus 20, the nitrogen will still be in a gaseous form of what I blew in. But the water that I blew in gaseous form will condense primarily, and then it will turn to ice. Would you agree that? So once it's been in that freezer for a considerable time, whatever water was in there would become solid in the balloon. Would you agree to that?
Of course.
Okay, so now we've got a balloon where the water vapor has been totally removed out of the mixture of the gases that's in the balloon, and the water is now sat as a solid lump of ice at the bottom of the balloon, the very small amount that's in there. Would you agree with that?
Well, again, the smaller the particles, the more difficult it will be to freeze. So that will take longer. So obviously you have to have a lower temperature on the outside to freeze all of the particles, right?
No. Minus
So
20.
so what you've got is a temperature that will focus on the water molecules, but there are other molecules that you're saying are still active. Then obviously you'd have to lower the temperature, right?
No.
Huh?
No, they're all at the same temperature. It's just that at different temperatures, different molecules will have different phases. So, as I suggested, that the nitrogen will stay gaseous until it goes to minus 200 degrees Celsius. Yeah. Whereas the water, once it gets to zero, it gets to near zero, it's going to be a liquid. And once it gets below that, it will then freeze and become solid water in the balloon. Yeah. So at the bottom of the balloon, we'll get a solid lump of the water that was put into the balloon initially in gaseous form. But once it gets to minus 20, that water will then phase change into ice and sit there as a solid at the bottom of the balloon. It's no longer will it contribute to any gaseous pressure that it was contributing previously when it was in a gaseous state.
So you're saying if we remove that water, Adam, okay, so we remove that ice, remove that water, what's the next question? What's the next part?
Well, my point was, if you're happy to concede that any water that was in there would now be solid, are you happy with that?
Okay, so what's next then? What's the next part?
Well, now you no longer have any water vapor, and it's not, therefore, what else is creating the pressure inside the balloon then? If the water is no longer vapor and it's just a solid lump sat at the bottom, what is creating that pressure? For me, it's the other gases, which are still gaseous because they're not anywhere near reaching a temperature cool enough for them to be liquid. So they're still acting as gas. Now they've got a lot lower energy. Each individual molecule has a lot lower energy, but it's still sufficient for those small molecules to be acting as gases still, which is what you see in the balloon. So you get a pressure reduction. The first part comes from by totally removing.
No, Adam, you're wrong. You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
You're wrong here.
No, I'm not, mate.
You are wrong because.
No, I'm not, mate.
Okay, let me explain why. You are wrong because you haven't frozen all of the liquids in that balloon. Just some of the liquids, which is obviously the water. What?
There was no liquid in the balloon.
No, hold on. Did you see the experiment there with that Russian vids? What happens when you freeze a balloon?
Right, that's very, very different. When you pour in liquid nitrogen, don't go to that complicated.
No,
I don't think your comprehension is sufficient to move on to just direct phase changes of the gases in there. We're not phase changing the gases. The only thing in the balloon when we freeze it, the only thing we're phase changing is the water. Everything else needs a much more significant reduction in temperature to invoke a phase change.
That's what we're talking about. If you remove the liquid, Adam, you remove the pressure. So if something freezes, if something freezes into a solid, then that means it was once a liquid. It was once a gas. It was once a solid. So if you freeze, if you freeze everything in that balloon, take that out of the balloon, will there be any pressure, Adam?
No, I haven't.
Hang on, have you just changed your position from water to any liquid now?
Yeah,
I've always said liquid. I've always said a fluid.
So is the
I heard you say water before.
70% at any point?
Don't say fluid. There's two types of fluids,
fluid
right?
Nitrogen? I've just told you the nitrogen becomes fluid at minus 200. So at minus 20, it's still a gas.
Okay.
Well, it becomes liquid. Don't get confused between liquids and gases. They're two different animals. Just because they're called fluids, don't try to play any word games here. You're going to get caught. Not Adam. I'm talking to Spurs.
Hey, real quick, if you don't mind.
Okay,
just
so
real quick,
Adam, if I hold on, Paul. Adam, so if I were in that Russian experiment, okay, where in the balloon was air, I blew it up with air, and you're saying there's other gases in there, and I freeze it like that, open the balloon, so you now have this block of ice, and then I melt it. So everything that was in that balloon is about to melt in a tray, Adam. Yeah?
No.
So what is that stuff in the tray?
You mean when you've taken it to minus 200, when you've poured it, when you've covered it with liquid
Adam,
nitrogen?
I'm talking about freezing a balloon. I freeze the balloon, the contents in the balloon. Take that contents that's frozen out of the balloon. No, Adam,
So
I take that contents
about
out
when
of
you
the balloon.
pour liquid nitrogen on it?
No, Adam, not when you pour it, but there was a Russian video where it was a bowl, it was sulfur hexafluoride. And he put the balloon into this area, and the balloon just crumpled into, it condensed, contracted. Now I'm saying the stuff that was inside of that balloon, you remove it from the balloon, keep the balloon intact. You've got a solid on the table. That solid melts. Are you saying that goes straight into the air, or I'll have a liquid on the table?
Well, you'll get both. You'll get some phase change into liquid, but because the rate of change from minus 200 to the air temperature, and because you're at minus 200, so it's really at its melting and gaseous point, pretty much the observation would be you may see a very small amount of liquid, but actually the phase change is going to be so rapid, it's going to pretty much turn gaseous straight away, because you're exposing that top layer straight away to a plus 200 temperature difference. So you're going to pretty much get straight evaporation of what would be a small amount of liquid nitrogen and oxygen that you generate by freezing the balloon, and that will then evaporate. The liquid you may see will be the water, because that's going to be a lot slower to react, because that needs to get a lot hotter for that water, even at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees, for it to start to turn into water vapor again.
So look, Adam, you freeze the balloon. You've got a block of ice inside the balloon. You put the ice.
No, you haven't got a block of ice, have you? You've not got a block of ice. You've got an admixture of stuff that you've cooled down and to a liquid form. The nitrogen that's in there will not be solid. It will only just be fluctuating between gas and liquid at that temperature. The same with the oxygen.
I'm asking you. Okay, so I'm asking you, when it melts and there's the liquid on the table, and I test that liquid, you're saying there'll be no nitrogen in that water?
There'll be very, very little, because...
Oh, so hold on, make your mind up, Adam. Either it's all evaporated, or in that puddle, I will find nitrogen.
No, very, very little. You may get some dissolved nitrogen that's still residing. Yeah, because of the rate of change, because you're basically to get it to anywhere near a liquid, you've got to take it to the -200. So pour it with the liquid nitrogen over it, or any other coolant that's gets it to that temperature. You may just get the nitrogen to a liquid form, but as soon as it gets
I'm fine.
than the -200, instantly it's going to have its latent heat of vaporization, and it will turn back into a gas. There'll be sufficient energy for those particles of nitrogen, atoms of nitrogen, the particles to be able to turn straight back into a gaseous form. They'll have sufficient energy to become liberated and free again and act as a gas.
Hey, real
Now,
quick,
that doesn't mean that the remaining stuff behind, which will be mostly what you're going to see, would be the water vapor that is contained in the air, because that at -200 would be solid. Then liquid as it gets above zero. Yeah, that's what you're going to see there. That's the majority. But in terms of the nitrogen, the majority of that would rapidly phase change from the liquid straight back into a gas.
I'm satisfied. You said there would be nitrogen in that puddle, so it shows that you compress everything.
Of course, because you cooled it down to induce a phase change. But as soon as
I'm talking about the balloon, when you freeze everything inside the balloon, it becomes a solid. When you take that solid out and you put it in a bowl and then or in a cup, and that solid melts into a liquid, then there's your liquid.
Can things turn from a solid into a gas straight away?
Not saying that. If you're saying atmosphere, gas, atmosphere like this, and I'm saying you remove the liquid from that pressurized system, you will not have any pressure. And we can see that if you remove that block of ice, there's no pressure.
That's nonsense. And you're speaking to a certified chemist. Are you insane, Spurs? Can I ask you that? I love you, but are you insane?
Come a long way since.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
But look, John, how was the show? Was it a success? Did you feel relieved that it's over now? You've launched. What is the feeling
There's
behind
a term for that. That's called a ham-handed segue.
I see what you did there, Spurs. Yeah, I thought it was a success. Definitely. That's outstanding. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, it was great to be reminded of the schooling I got, John.
Yeah, I listened to some of it. Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah, it was so good. I forgot how good it was. Yep.
When's the next one, John? When are you on next? Can't leave the people waiting. Yes.
For the people watching, it's going to be yesterday, but Saturday for you, Spurs. 8 p.m. Saturday every week. So when are we next on for you watching? In 6 days' time on Saturday.
I got a question about that too, Nathan. I posted a message in there in the Skype about the time thing, but that's an admin thing. We'll get to that later. I don't want to kill, quote unquote, the conversation.
I think Spurs already threw it under a bus.
Again, look, this is it seems people enjoy the arguments.
Congrats on your channel launch, man.
Hey, thanks, Chocolate. Appreciate that, man.
No problem.
We'll get there. We'll definitely get there. And because remember, truth is in 3 stages. First, you ridicule it, which you're doing. Then you'll violently oppose me, which we've seen. And then obviously you'll accept the truth that nobody can measure the pressure in the atmosphere.
That's not my 3 stages of truth. Where'd you get those stages from?
I think that
from
was
experience,
from Gandhi,
right?
isn't it?
Experience.
From experience.
Can I ask Adam a question? Ask Adam a question real quick. You're a chemist, right? You took chemistry.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what sublimation is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's when a solid turns into a gas, isn't it?
So why is that occurring? Why is a solid going straight from a solid to a gas? What's happening?
It's just it's the level of energy that the particles are able to achieve, because basically it tends to happen at the surface level. You get a sublimation, so the particles are sufficiently energized to just go straight in to the gaseous phase. So a good example would be in freezing atmospheric air. You would get sublimation of, like I said, the nitrogen and the oxygen, but the water molecules would be, you would get some sublimation of it from solid to liquid, because water's a bit funky. But realistically, it's only those molecules which have a much lower energy level to be gaseous that will sublimate.
So that's kind of like what happens with dry ice. It has the sublimation. It happens immediately. There's no even transition from a solid. It goes straight from a solid to a gas. There's
Precisely.
No
Dry ice is the perfect example. Yep.
So think about that, Spurs, in this conversation about temperature. Here you got something that's at very low temperature. Like I put ice trays in my refrigerator, which I'm not sure what the temperature is in my refrigerator. I think it's like close to 0 or down 0 degrees or Fahrenheit. But I've also left my ice trays in there and come back after a long period of time and there's no ice in there. And it all just kind of evaporated away and went straight from a solid to a gas. You need to factor that into your equation about temperature too.
How crazy things are getting, especially with the ball earthers here. Because we're talking about or asking about an experiment to show that you can control the temperature. So they seem to think that they can control the temperature and raise the pressure or lower the pressure. This is how confused people have become. If you control the temperature, you would keep the pressure the same. You cannot keep the temperature at, I don't know, 70 and then increase the pressure, obviously, because you would increase the temperature. So this is getting out of hand. There must be a way, obviously, to show there is pressure. We need to be able to control the temperature and show that it's only pressure happening.
Here's how you do
temperature.
it, Spurs. Here's how you do it. You take a gas cycle pump. You take a gas or a pump. You pump air into a container. It's going to raise the pressure and raise the temperature. Then you let it set for a while. As the temperature decreases, watch and see how much the pressure decreases.
Yeah, obviously, if the pressure decreases, the temperature decreases.
No, but it's not proportional. The pressure will personally stay closer to being the same, but the temperature can be reduced. Not proportional.
Only control. No. If it's controlled, it will be the same. If the temperature outside is affecting inside, well then yeah, it won't be proportional. No. If it's controlled, a controlled environment, Paul, then there will be no change, no deviation. It will be equal in a container, same pressure, same temperature. It will be it will match equally.
No, it's not going to be. It's not always going to be consistent. There's a lot. If you have the increase in temperature, you're going to have an increase in pressure. If you increase the pressure, you're going to have a slight increase in temperature. You can't get around it no matter what system you use to accomplish that.
What you're asking for is impossible. Let me explain what you're essentially saying. So you're saying I could lie on the ground and put a mattress on my back. Pressure. I feel pressure. Then let me finish, Paul. Then I put 100 mattresses on my back. A lot of pressure. Then you're saying that I could lower my temperature.
That's not.
Okay.
I could control my temperature.
For one, those objects, the mattresses and me, are not gaseous. They're not gases. First of all.
Yeah, how would you control pressure but lower my temperature?
Did you not hear me? We're not talking about liquids or solids. We're talking about gases.
So give an example where you can, manipulate the temperature and pressure.
Adam
and have
just
high
did.
pressure.
I'll give you a good example.
Adam just showed you a balloon where gaseous air and nitrogen was blown in. And when he froze it, all the water became a solid. But because the nitrogen takes a lower temperature to become a solid, it stayed as a gas. You hand-wave dismiss that because you got caught in cognitive dissonance. Go back to that. I thought what Adam was doing was basic.
If those water molecules froze,
give you
it lowered
another
the pressure
analogy
significantly.
that might help. If you were to take two balloons and fill one up with just pure nitrogen and one up with pure oxygen, and you, under controlled conditions, reduce both of them from room temperature to -20, so they're still acting as a gas, and they were initially put into that balloon at the same pressure, would the reduction in temperature, the equal reduction in both balloons, mean you would get an equal reduction in the pressure within the balloons? Or would there be a variance in the pressure reduction based on the energy levels of the individual O2 molecules and N2 molecules?
Great question.
It would be the same. No, it's not. No, it's easy to answer. It'd be the same. Everything would try to equalize here, add up. So both balloons would rapidly cool down.
What would be a good thing for you to learn there then is go and look at that, and it will give you a much bigger understanding of the relationship between temperature, pressure, molecular speed, and molecular energy. And if you can get your head around that, you'll start to be able to comprehend, I think, a bit better how gases behaves. Because I think this is where you're struggling is the fundamentals of gas behavior. And what gives them their properties, what produces the properties of pressure in a gas. Because you seem
it's pretty easy to understand once you realize it's temperature outside and inside it's pressure and temperature, then it's pretty much easy to all gases react in the same way. You see, everything's trying to equalize.
No, they do not. That's what he's trying to tell you calmly. Adam, you got the patience of Job. I need to talk to you more. Do you have a therapist?
Let's get back to Premiere. So look, because again, this is not something that I'm looking to get people frustrated or have an argument. Whatever. It's just something to demonstrate. Once we have a demonstration, it will obviously put it to bed.
Adam is an expert, Spurs. Are you understanding this? He's not coming off the street telling you this. You can obviously hear it in the words that he's saying and how he's teaching you. This is obvious to everyone that's listening here.
But Adam, you believe that the atoms behave like tennis balls bouncing around the container, right?
Oh my God.
That's the assumption that the particles bounce
if you
around.
Can get your head around that analogy, Spurs. Yeah, I'd quite happily work with that analogy.
That's what I mean. That's the assumption, Adam, that the particles are like rigid spheres. When I would describe them more like bubbles, miniature bubbles. That when they collide, Adam, they absorb into each other and they don't bounce off one another.
Oh, you are wrong.
Yeah,
that would be my hypothesis.
Where's your support?
And Adam, that's why I think they
the
liquefy,
problem with your tennis ball analogy right off the bat. That's now you can think of them as tennis balls, but I'll tell you what, that analogy goes about as far as I can throw my house, because you're going to get into big trouble with your second step. Tell him, Adam.
I'm struggling to go. All I can probably do, Spurs, to just try and I do know what I'm talking about. This is part of formulation science. So the behavior of compressed gases. If you think about when we're producing medicines and particularly aerosol based, such as inhalers and like, it's incumbent that you do have a full understanding of gas behavior and what happens to gases when you pressurize and how that will induce phase changes. Very similar to what Paul was telling you about in his field, where that basic understanding of gas behavior is necessary for the workings of the air conditioning units. It's also essential for propellant technology, like I said, with inhalers and stuff. And I think if you can just get your head around that, because you seem to be denying the fundamentals of gas behavior, as you've just described there. Gases, when they collide, it's an inelastic collision. They don't absorb each other. They bounce off with very, well, next to zero loss of any energy shared. And that's where we experience temperature from. But it's very difficult to have to take you back to some of the more fundamentals. And I think if you could get a basic grasp of gas behavior, it would really help you when you then try to extrapolate out with some of the admixtures of gases and the likes that we're discussing here. Because as I tried to say, if you've got the oxygen balloon and the nitrogen balloon, that same, if they're both pressurized to the same thing and that same temperature reduction, you will see a differential in the pressures between the two balloons, because they're two different gases. Their energy levels, behavior is very different. It goes back to understanding PV equals nRT. T is in there, but so is N and R. Yeah, now you're keeping P, the V will alter as well. So understanding that equation and how it works with the things that you're varying, and how it's not a one or an inverse relationship, but it encompasses all of the equation for you to get a final result is very complicated. Just certainly without a whiteboard, it is stuff we take people.
I understand it. I understand it complicated.
Some of the
what I wanted to know is
students with postgraduate degrees that I
here.
struggle as well with it.
Do all pressurized containers form a gradient? So do you have a gradient when you pressurize any gas? Is there a gradient when it settles, when it's not being?
Right, again, so this comes back to understanding what you've put in there. So certain molecules will turn into liquid, certain will remain a gas. Some of them will be in a very tight, fluctuating state where they're being forced. The intermolecular gaps between the gaseous molecules have been reduced so much because of the increased pressure that even they are still gaseous and energized sufficiently to be gases, they're almost within a highly pressurized container behaving like a liquid because you've reduced the intermolecular gaps. So they struggle. They're trying to act like a gas, but there's not enough room for them to act like a gas. So they're contained, but they're still a gas, and their molecular energy level.
Adam, are you saying glacious or gaseous?
Gaseous.
Gaseous or gaseous? Gaseous, same thing.
Glacious is what you're saying. Glacious, yes?
Gaseous or gaseous. Gaseous as in gas. Being a gas. Being gas-like.
Gaseous. Okay. So, Adam, what I'm trying to find out again, is there a gradient? Are you saying you can show me a container where the gas is pressurized and there is no gradient?
In most low pressurized containers, the gases will still act freely. If you super pressurize, like within an aerosol container, like I said, you reduce the intermolecular spaces. Now, in doing so, you kind of forcing them into a semi-liquid state. Then, because you've got then relative density of liquids will start to come into play. So you will get some segregation, which is why it's important, even with the paint tin aerosol, that you shake and agitate it to ensure that there's sufficient mixture again, because if left unattended, because they are acting like liquids, it'll go a little bit like Anthony's liquid column of different densities. You'll get some of that small amount of agitation.
Yeah, but Adam, is that like, yes, there is a gas, I can pressurize in a can?
I think probably for you, then no, is probably the simplest way for you to comprehend it at the moment. And I'm not being patronizing there, but I think if we were to go into more
Adam, so you're saying there is no way you can pressurize a container without... No, because I'm just trying to find out if you can pressurize a container and not have a gradient. You're saying no, there's no way.
If you put a lid on a Tupperware dish, that's a pressurized container. If you blow in a balloon, it's pressurized. The gases in there have sufficient intermolecular spaces because the pressure isn't so much that it's compacting them more, so they'll still freely behave as gas molecules. If you reduce the intermolecular spaces to such a level that they aren't able to act particularly freely anymore because the rate of collision with other molecules is occurring at a much, much higher rate, then their behavior almost becomes semi-liquid in the way you consider them sat in that overly pressurized container, which is why you then have to mitigate in formulation for that behavior. Now, as soon as you release that pressure and you eject them through there, they've already got their sufficient energies to then and they'll suck the energy from the surrounding atmosphere to go instantly back to standard gas behavior as you'd understand it. But I think for the purposes of your question, try not to think of an over-pressurized system where you're forcing semi-liquid behavior. You just think of it as a standard balloon type level of pressure, which is more elevated than atmospheric pressure, but the behavior still within the balloon is gas behavior and not liquid behavior.
Just for clarity, for Spurs, because I know you've said the word liquid now and liquid-like. just bear with me, Spurs, right? So liquids are bonded together. You appreciate that. At a fundamental level, they're linked. You understand that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if in an analogy we have people, and let's say there's 100 of them, and they're running around a football field, and they're not bonded to each other, yeah? But then we gather up all those people who are just running around a football field and put them in quite a small room. Now, they're not bonded together, they're just very close together. And if they want to run, which in this instance, for some reason, although it's not analogous, they want to run really fast for some reason when they're all rammed together. But it doesn't mean that they're bonded. But because they're so close together, you can kind of consider some of their behaviour to be kind of like liquid behaviour. But it doesn't mean they're bonded. And at a fundamental level, they're unbonded and just bashing into each other at a high rate whilst very close together. Does all that sink in and make sense? It's still not liquid.
It makes sense. It makes sense. But this is where I disagree, because you said it's like, this is the fundamental disagreement here, is the model that either you or Adam will have, that you believe the particles are vectors. So you said, I can go by what you said, that it's like the particle wants to run away. Okay? And I'm saying that it doesn't want to run away. Once the temperature has reduced that particle's, energy or whatever makes it wants to run, the cold is doing the opposite. It's pulling it back, making it not want to run until the warmer temperatures excite it and make it want to run. So this is where we have a little bit of difference between that phase. So that was a good example, actually, because the particles on the football field are running around, they get closer together, they're not bonded, but one wants to escape, but it.
So why is the nitrogen running around in the balloon and the water frozen?
What he's done, 10th man, is he's now saying that the reason is because they're hotter.
Changes
and
to higher
the reason
state.
isn't because they're hotter, Spurs. Mm-hmm. The reason isn't because they've got hotter. Now, by consequence, if you stick to the people and football field versus them all being crammed into a little conference room, right? If we use that example, a consequence of them being put into a smaller container is that they get hotter. But that's not the reason why they're all close together now, is it? They're closer together because they're in a smaller container.
They get hot again. This is when they come closer together. This is where I say there's an expansion, a contraction, and then they just contract. So that moment you're saying they want to get hotter, yes, that happens for a nanosecond, but obviously it can't get hotter, so it just collapses. And then it just withdraws and gets tighter and tighter, and then pulls all the other molecules around it tighter until you introduce something warm, whatever it is, and then that expands up. You get the reverse. Now it wants to run away. What you've just said about wants to run away is what I heard. And the only way to give it that wanting to run away
level, you don't understand how gas behaves. You just don't understand how gas behaves. That's the problem.
Precisely, you got it. Spurs, what is your claim?
I disagree with how you say gas behaves. That's all. Just you have a model.
Spurs,
that's all.
That's not agree-disagree situation. This isn't an agree-disagree situation. That's the first issue. What is your claim? Briefly.
There's no atmospheric pressure, only liquid water pressure.
Yes. Yeah, we do have gas in our atmosphere, though, don't we, Spurs? We have gas here.
Spurs? Quick question, Spurs. You know a blimp? What's a blimp?
He's quite familiar with the Hindenburg. Because that's how he's going down.
A balloon? What about a balloon?
Blimp. Hey,
I mean,
blimpy
Do I
boy.
have water in my tires right now? I'm driving.
Chocolate.
Should I go to the
derail it.
mechanic and tell him to take
we're
the
just
water
getting
out
a
of my
simple
tires?
yes for blimp. Understood. Is a blimp something you understand?
Yeah, it's like an air balloon. Yeah.
Yeah. Like an airship.
Okay, so is there any liquid water put into that blimp to ensure that the helium behaves and creates pressure? Does it need water put into the blimp for the helium to behave like a gas?
No, of course not.
We're not going to get in there, Lily. We're not going to get there. Sorry, guys.
Of course not. People's heads are blown away. They think that they literally pour water into their tires. It's not like that. The water molecules are so fine that they act like like a gas or something like this. But again, you remove the water. I can't see the argument here. We know we can extract water. Remove the water. Do we still have pressure? Remove the liquid. Do we still have pressure? I asked Adam. The reason why I asked Adam about this gradient, because obviously, he understands where this is going. Because if there was any liquid at the bottom of that container, liquid form, kind of liquid.
Hold on, you're saying water, then you're saying liquid. Hold on, Spurs. See, now that's where you've lost me. Because up until that point, I'm almost following along, going, yeah, he could be talking about liquid water or gaseous water. But now you're just saying liquid. In other words, water's just liquid now.
Because you're being picky about what's in the atmosphere, right? You're saying, oh, there's all kinds of different gases and all that kind of thing. Well, again, how do we even know that for a start? I'm not a chemist. Adam's a chemist. He could easily say, look, extract the atmosphere. Look,
Can I ask Spurs a real quick question?
This was one of the only practical demonstrations I can remember from being in high school, right? Where they show you how to separate out gases. I can't quite believe my ears, Spurs.
Well,
it's actually being talked.
I can make it real easy
Anyway,
for
just to follow
Spurs.
What's actually being...
No, you can't.
What's actually being talked about here? We're talking about
after 3 weeks,
can be
Paul.
humidity
Come on.
in a gas versus a dry gas for it to be compressible. Are you saying that water content in a gas will be like a buffer, will prevent something from being compressed, therefore create more pressure? Is that what you're saying?
No, he's saying water pressure is the only thing. Water is the only thing that means you've got pressure. Without it, there's no pressure. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's right.
You remove equals nRT just for that equation there. So when you pressurize your tire, what happens is the water will condense. It requires less increase in pressure for the phase transition. What then happens is it will pool at the bottom of your tire. I don't dispute that. Okay. Now the net result in terms of how it will affect PV equals nRT is what it was doing previously. The water vapor was taking up a lot of space. Those individual water molecules were taking up a lot of space and contributing to the gas pressure. You remove the water and turn it into liquid where it will pool at the bottom. Now, you go to PV equals nRT, you will then have liquid slightly occupying some of the V. So you get a slight reduction in the available volume for the gas. But because you've taken out some of the molecules from being gaseous, you actually remove the pressure a little bit as well. Does that make sense? You've really got to get your head around
Adam's getting it slowly but surely. Adam's getting it.
And how they interchange with phase transitions and how the system will create.
No, but Adam, you're slowly.
Spurs, stop over talking a subject matter expert.
He's over talking the subject expert to make it be clear that he doesn't understand any of this. That's what he's saying over the top of you, Adam. But I don't understand any of this.
Sorry. I'm just excited because it sounds like
I'm only trying to show you, Spurs, that what I think is apparent to everybody, that you don't, again, have a grasp of the fundamentals. And I think if you can just grasp the fundamentals of gas behavior, how they relate to both temperature and pressure, and how pressure is basically how much intermolecular space there is between molecules. Yeah, there's lots of things at play here, and it's the interchanging of all these different things that creates it. But in no way, as I said with a blimp, is gas pressure a requirement to have liquid water or gaseous water in any way? Is it a requirement? Gases behave as gases, whether they've got water there or not. For example, we're coming up with examples.
Could
Actually, let me try. Let me
are
go
you
to
guys
different
talking
tack.
about pressures in the
Does
atmosphere?
nobody follow the conversation? He said, for example, then muttered a few things we didn't hear, which was presumably I've got to step away for a moment, or something like that.
Yeah, I'd rather listen to Adam talk.
Right, me too.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Adam just told you. Adam just said the water pools at the bottom of the tire. That's all I needed to hear. That's it for me.
So you
That's
fellas
the water.
talking about the relationship between pressure and temperature.
You remove
and
that. Adam was reluctant to say
somebody's
this,
asking
you
the
see,
fundamental
because
question.
He's getting it. He realised you remove the liquid, you remove the pressure.
Well, I would like to.
That's not what Adam said. Oh my
That's
goodness
completely
gracious!
incorrect, Spurs. It's not what I said at all. What I said was, as a consequence,
You said the water
of
will
the
pool at the
increased
bottom,
pressure-
Adam. Pool.
There he goes, talking over subject matter expert, man. I'll tell you what, if this was my hangout, well, you would have been gone 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to mute.
But this is ridiculous.
I'll just mute.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say real quick before I'll lose it. Pressure is a continuous physical force exerted or against an object by something in contact with it. My question would be simply, if we have this gas that's here and it's coming in contact with the surface of something, whether my skin, then there is pressure according to this definition. That's all I'm going to say. That's it.
I posted a picture of a tractor with water in the tires for ballast and traction. Farmers do this on purpose, but in cold temperatures, they must remove the water because it will freeze and expand. When you remove all the water, you have very little bit there, but mostly air and gases. But on purpose, farmers would fill the tractor tires, especially the rear, with water for more traction and to create more ballast. I still don't understand why Spurs can't get this.
Well, I was just wondering if I could ask a question on this similar topic here. When you're talking about gases in the atmosphere and the pressure decreasing as you go up in atmosphere, I was talking with someone just the other day about molecules in the upper atmosphere, the higher up in the atmosphere you go, being in a higher energy state. Although they're lower temperature, because they're much lower pressure, they're in a higher energy state. Would that be correct?
Wait till I come out with the sun is not hot. Then I think everyone will lose their cool.
I barely understood it and nobody responded. Could you say that one more time? And I'll try to answer it.
Well, I was asking just a general question. I'm not sure. I'm not really asking a specific question, but just asking if you could expand on this idea of, well, when you go higher in the atmosphere and the pressure decreases, well, you've also got the air is a lot colder in the upper atmosphere, but because of the very low pressures, wouldn't that mean that the gas is expanded more and that these molecules are in a higher energy state, even though they're lower temperature?
Yeah, I guess in a simple explanation, yes, unless Adam would disagree with that.
I would say it's a simplified version. Again, you've got to understand what temperature is. The temperature is what you experience in terms of energy exchange between you and the number of molecules that are there. So to get the same temperature experience at lower temperature, you've got a lot more molecules. So the heat transfer between the molecules and you or the thermometer requires less collisions to exert that temperature that you would feel or read. At the higher altitudes, those molecules may actually be more energetic than they were at lower temperature, but the collision rate with you or the thermometer is less frequent, therefore you will feel less temperature.
What
Do
an
you have any
outstanding
evidence of this?
explanation. Outstanding explanation. Did everyone hear what he just said? This is taped.
Yeah,
I
the
would
question is,
suggest
does he
you
have
go
any
back
evidence
over.
for it?
I would suggest you go back over and listen to this because this show's taped, and listen to what Adam said. In fact, just pull out everything Adam said during this hangout and meditate on it. All right? Thank you, Adam.
The evidence is actually quite obvious. The temperature is lower in the upper atmosphere, and the pressure is lower.
I've learned more.
When you say
Adam,
upper
I've learned
atmosphere,
more.
what exactly do you mean? Be specific.
I just mean at a high altitude. That's all I'm saying.
You got to get more specific.
But I'm just saying. Look, the direction that I'm going with this is, because what I'm pointing out is, well, what is it? What is gravity, or what is causing things to go down? And my claim is that because you've got these molecules that are at a higher energy state, well, what about this idea? Maybe things, what is it called? When you're trying to stratify something, like so let's say you're panning for gold, and you stratify the material, and then it all sorts out. You get the heavier stuff down below, then you got more. I'm not going to get into it, but when you've got these layers forming, layers of atmosphere, layers of gas, and then you've got the solid material accumulating in different ways. Maybe things of different densities just find their correct energy state, much like seeks like. You put two water molecules, they'll next to each other, and they touch, they'll join together. If you mix up oil and water, they'll separate out.
You're droning. What's your question? What's your claim? You're droning. This is going too far.
I'm saying that this is what gravity is that things of like energy state gravitate towards each other.
This is what gravity is. No, that's not what gravity is. Gravity doesn't exist. What is gravity?
Well, absolutely gravity exists. Gravity is just the observation of things falling down. That's all it is.
Oh, really?
Yes. Gravity is an observed acceleration. Due to what? That's what I'm asking. What is the cause?
Okay. Do you have scientific evidence of that?
Yes. You drop something, it will fall.
That's not scientific evidence.
Oh my gosh.
That's not. Only have an effect.
I'm saying that I think that I have an alternative explanation. It's not mass attracting mass, but it is like energy state seeking like energy state.
You don't need an alternative explanation for no scientific evidence whatsoever for the principle.
Well, you drop a helium balloon, it's going to rise. It's not going to fall.
When you drop it.
Well, let go of it,
Yeah. Right. It's going to rise. So that just goes against your conjecture that everything falls down, go boom, boom.
I'm not saying that everything falls down. I'm saying
you did.
I'm saying that different material will seek like energy state. It's not mass attracting mass, but it's like energy. It's matter of like energy state seeking its point of equilibrium.
Guys,
don't have anything for you.
Okay, I'll give you an example, right? If you heat up water, like a large amount of water, you could actually, in theory, create a cloud. I think NASA has a machine that can do this. We heat up massive amounts of water, get it all to vaporize, to turn into steam. It'll all go up, and it'll go up quickly, but then it'll fall back down as rain.
And the cause of that is what?
Well, because you're exciting it to a higher energy state. It's rising to reach like energy state, and then it's cooling down. And it's going, I'm not at that energy state anymore.
I understand that the falling down part. That's what I was concerned with. You're saying that's gravity.
I'm saying the observation of things accelerating downward is what is known as gravity, gravitas.
Yeah, that's just a word that somebody puts on an effect. To claim gravity, scientific evidence of gravity, you have to have a cause.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. There is no cause. I'm saying that gravity is just an observed effect. It's just the name of.
Why can't it be equilibrium and disequilibrium based on the medium around
Absolutely. Well, that's what I'm trying to pose. That what we call gravity could just be. That's what I'm trying to get at, because that's one of the unsolved questions.
We don't call it gravity.
Why not?
We don't. Well, because gravity doesn't exist.
No, because you don't like the term.
Well, it's just in the common
I don't
lexicon.
like
There's no reason you can't accept the word gravity and just define it as an observed effect.
Here comes P. Micey with his snuck fallacies. Every 2 words will be a different fallacy. My goodness.
No, it's
he got a
reverse
fallacy book.
reification guy.
You guys are just mad because you're debating a bunch
reverse
of terms that
osmosis
already
snuck
have definitions.
famous fallacy guy.
Reverse osmosis
What,
fallacy.
you don't like the fact that I point out fallacies, 10th man?
Well, if you're going to define gravity as all things attracting to a central point or something like that, then we do have a problem, because you would be asserting something that you don't have proof for.
Yeah, that's why we don't accept gravity. Exactly, you got it.
Because you don't like its explanation and its implications for your model.
Okay, can you prove it? Can you prove it? You have scientific evidence for that, Mr. Reverse reification guy? You have any?
Yeah, sure. Acceleration.
That's not scientific evidence.
Wait, so it's not scientific evidence to say that things accelerate?
What is
ground?
What is scientific evidence? That's what I thought.
Marcy, are you accelerating right now?
What's what you thought?
Marcy, are you accelerating?
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
He can't answer it, John, because he's thinking of a new made-up fallacy.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not making up a new fallacy.
Then just
what
answer
I'm
the
saying
question.
Is that you guys...
What's the
No, I didn't ask
method?
a question.
Please.
I told you asked for evidence.
Answer the question. What's the scientific method?
No, I asked for scientific evidence.
That's a straw man. You guys asked for evidence. I gave you evidence.
There we go.
Here we
He just proved it.
Marcy, I have to ask you 2 questions. Sure. Are you moving right now? And the first question is, are you affected by gravity right now? The obvious answer would be yes. And then the second question would be, are you accelerating?
No.
Are you accelerating anywhere right now?
Stop answering for us.
The obvious answer is,
are you affected by gravity right now, and are you accelerating?
Okay, that word salad was just like 3 questions that you said were 2 and 4 answers.
No, and no.
Yes.
Oh boy, it's one of these.
Wait, so
no,
are you sitting right now? Are you sitting in a chair?
You guys asked for evidence. I gave you evidence.
RC, are you sitting in a chair right now?
Evidence. I want to redefine evidence so that I don't have to accept your evidence.
Are you sitting in a chair?
Not redefining evidence. You don't know what scientific evidence is.
Oh, I am very acquainted with what scientific evidence is.
Okay, then why didn't you tell us? Why'd you get all quiet?
Because you guys want to straw man it to Hades.
Oh, straw man. That's a baseless assertion fallacy. What is scientific evidence for the 3rd time?
A baseless assertion fallacy. Interesting.
That's right.
No, you guys asked for evidence. I gave you evidence.
He never answers.
If you guys want to counter that, if you guys want to counter that evidence, that's cool. But we're not going to get into. We're not going to get into a bunch of semantics so that you guys can obfuscate.
Semantics is not. Yeah. Well, to communicate, we're using the Socratic method. The Socratic method is to define terms. So yes, every single argument or claim or appeal or discussion must get down to agreement on terms. It's like saying to the color yellow, you're the color yellow. Well, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so you're saying that you're saying that evidence of acceleration is not evidence of gravity. Is that what your claim is? Great.
I'm saying it's not scientific evidence of anything. You just said one word.
Great. Tell me that's your claim. Now back it up.
My claim.
Listen to this
guy.
Never answers a question. Reverse osmosis. That's what
RC. Before you said gravity is acceleration, right?
No, I said
is that what you said?
Acceleration is evidence of gravity.
Oh, it is. All right. So this cup that's sitting on this table in front of me right now, is it experiencing gravity?
Acceleration? Yes. Is it accelerating?
No. I want to know if it's experiencing gravity.
Oh.
Is that from a philosophical perspective?
Arwen, let him answer.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Is it accelerating also?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Define acceleration. No. Define acceleration. Have him define acceleration.
Yeah.
One
What's
cup
acceleration?
Of coffee to go. 1 cup of coffee to go. That's acceleration.
What's that?
Stop. Get 1 cup of coffee to go. Stop it from accelerating.
Right.
Oh
guys.
my God.
Right.
I'm not paying for this if I
It's
can't grab
really,
it.
it's really
Stop it.
funny to listen to you guys obfuscate this because you guys are really nervous about the fact
RC,
that, like,
what's the
crap, I have
definition
to
of
redefine
acceleration?
evidence. What's that?
What is the definition of acceleration?
Change in speed over time.
All right, so how is the cup sitting on my table accelerating?
What's that?
How is the cup sitting on my table, which was the example that I used, how is that accelerating and displaying gravity?
So in your frame of reference, right, you don't see that change, correct? Over time.
Oh, is it accelerating in the fourth dimension, is it?
Does that mean that it's not?
Wait, so in my frame of reference, I don't experience my cup that's sitting on my table accelerating. That's what you're telling me?
Of course you do, yeah.
Go to Starbucks,
Of course I do.
get one to go, and go to Starbucks.
Hold on. He said you do. Go on. If you say you do, how does he experience it?
Yeah, how does he experience it? Because you can actually change those variables to end up manipulating it.
In English, please.
Now,
what?
In English,
Man,
yes.
I had a good one,
Because
and
you can
stopped
change
me.
that variable. So let's say that you're not just sitting in your you're not excuse me, you're not just sitting in your house, you're sitting in your car. You turn your car, what happens to that coffee?
Wait a minute, you said it was to the reference point he was in. Why'd you move him to the car?
Yeah, I'm not in the car.
Because you
I'm sitting in a chair.
You can create
right?
because
and,
you can
and I've
create
got
the exact. Hey, hold up! You guys want an explanation? I'm giving you an explanation. Because
I can't
his
wait.
chair, from his chair, not from his car. That's moving.
Oh, so you
That's
guys want to put more
literally
caveats
moving
on
the
it. That makes a lot of
goalpost.
sense. You have to put all the
Yeah, that
caveats
does
in the
make a
world
lot
on
of
it,
sense. You
right?
go to
So that you can
Starbucks to
obfuscate the
the
argument.
drive-through, and you order a cup of coffee, and she gives you the cup of coffee, and you say, "I'm not paying for this. It's accelerating in the fifth dimension."
Yeah.
No, you go. No, what he's doing is that you go to Starbucks with your car, order a cup of coffee, don't pay, accelerate away.
So don't stop to get the coffee. Just keep going, keep accelerating.
Well, wait a minute. Actually, I went to Starbucks this morning, myself, and my coffee cup did accelerate as I was walking across the road. It was accelerating. So, but I was
That's
walking across the
interesting
road.
because I'm trying to find out how my cup is accelerating as it sits on my table. That's what I'm trying to find out.
The Earth is spinning under you.
Nah, it's not.
You got
Definitely
it,
not.
Tim. There you go.
There you go. Do you have any scientific evidence for this gravity? What? No, I'm sorry. You obfuscated. What is scientific evidence?
Oh, no, I didn't obfuscate anything. You guys are trying to then redefine terms because you guys are trying to obfuscate the actual piece of evidence. What I'm
Nobody
asking in a
defined it yet.
real argument, what someone does is they offer counter.
Nobody
not
defined it yet. What is
redefine terms.
scientific
We are
evidence?
defining the terms.
No,
Not
what you're trying to
redefine.
do is define the argument out of what
No,
you actually have to.
Marcy, you're trying to assert this force of gravity as if it's a law, right? So you're trying to put it across as if it's something that applies in all circumstances all the time. So why can't we stipulate where this cup of coffee is? It's on his table. How come it's not accelerating?
I don't understand your question.
Well, if it's a force and it's a law that's always happening everywhere, then surely it should happen everywhere, right? Even when it's on his table.
Chocolate, you better buy a leash for your coffee because it's going to run.
Yeah, it's trying to escape.
So guys,
my coffee's going to hit escape velocity.
I don't think you realize the
Here's what you guys are
implication. I said this
nervously
a few weeks
laughing
ago, about last week. I don't think they realize the implication when they say that coffee cup is accelerating is dependent upon your reference frame. That's kind of what the Flat Earth Society has been saying that's happening to the so-called Flat Earth. It's accelerating upward at so many feet per second. So if they apply his reference frame analogy, that has to be what's happening.
Brian
Same thing.
Cox said
No,
something
a reference
similar.
Well,
frame is not an
Brian,
analogy.
hold on a
yeah,
second.
The other
Brian
thing is you
Cox
said,
said
give
something
me.
similar to that,
yes, he did.
right?
No,
He said
I
reference
almost
frame
fell
is
Einstein
off
not
the
an
described the
chair.
reference
Earth
to
as
what?
going upwards. That's exactly what
Accelerating in
Brian Cox
reference
said.
to what?
You could describe it. That's what Brian Cox said, that you could describe it, or Einstein described it. I don't know where he got that from. Probably because of relative reference frames or relativity, but he actually said that.
Yep, I remember that.
Yes.
See, and that falls apart on
And
a
your
ball.
point
So if
is,
I'm accelerating upward to keep my laptop on the table here to maintain its relative reference frame, then what about on the ball, those people that are below my feet? So are they accelerating upward as well? Are they?
are you asking me what the Flat Earth Society says? Like, I know I'm not going to explain what the Flat Earth Society.
No.
Just trying to.
I'm actually talking about the ball. You said it's a reference frame issue. And so the
No, I
only way
didn't
you
say
can
it was a
account for a
reference frame
reference frame
issue.
is
I simply
acceleration.
said
And you
if
said
you want to.
acceleration.
No,
Wait,
hey, hold
I'm
up.
still
I didn't
talking,
say
by
that
the
it was a
way.
reference
I'm
frame
still
issue.
talking, by the way.
All I said is that if you want to manipulate that variable and test how this actually works, you can put yourself in a car and then start turning and see
But
how
you
that
said gravity is
manipulates this.
acceleration, right?
What's that?
What you
Yes,
said.
and you can
You said
watch how this
gravity.
acceleration can actually be varied by your actions.
Post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. Sorry.
I don't think he gets what I was saying, but that's okay.
Go ahead, Tim.
The
If you
reference
would like
frame
to try
issue
to.
creates a bigger problem for you than you realize. That's all my point is saying.
Oh, so sorry. What you're doing is you're using your personal incredulity of that situation and saying,
And
like,
here we go.
you're not proving
Here
it.
we go. The coffee cup is still in front of chocolate. Where's the acceleration? Let's get back to the point.
Where's the acceleration? I just told you how you can
Yeah.
manipulate that acceleration to create different observations.
By
I know the
not
cause of it. When I
manipulating
manipulate
it
something,
and adding acceleration, is that how you're manipulating this supposed acceleration?
How
By
can
not
chocolate,
manipulating
Yes, basic.
chocolate's sitting on his chair looking at it. How's he manipulating it?
I'm saying you can manipulate the effect that you're observing by putting
Chocolate is
different
sitting at his chair looking at
acceleration
a cup
on
of
it.
coffee. How is he doing it? Show us how he could do it.
Yes, he could get in a car and turn the car.
Yeah, but if he
Actually, it's
leaves the
coffee.
cup of coffee at the desk,
So,
if he leaves
so
the
in
cup of
order to
coffee at the
prove,
desk,
Tim,
I said, if
No,
you
not in
go
order
in the
to prove,
car,
in order to
if chocolate,
observe.
hang on, Meisty, if chocolate gets in the
Yeah.
car, but left his
Uh-huh.
cup of coffee on the desk, how did he manipulate it?
No, I'm saying get in the car, put your coffee in the car.
Oh, so chocolate
Start
takes
turning.
his cup of coffee. So
Come on.
chocolate is the cause of the cup moving, not acceleration.
No. Hey,
Come
listen.
on, let him
you
try
know-
to make a case first before you crack it down.
No,
Okay.
I'm not trying to make a case. I've already made a case. You guys are
No,
simply
no.
upset.
no, you
We're
already
trying to
lost the
prove
case. We're trying to, we're trying to fight for your appeal right now. That's what we're doing.
You're still
Well,
trying
and
to
here's what
prove
he's
how
saying.
you're
I'm really
manipulating
okay, guys. You don't need
supposed
to fight for me.
acceleration. So please go ahead.
Okay, so what's your question?
How are you manipulating this acceleration that you're presupposing in order to prove that it's real? Please
I'm not
explain to us.
presupposing anything. Okay.
Yes, you are. Until you
But
actually
one thing,
prove
what
it.
you're asking how can I create varied acceleration on that cup of coffee?
Yeah, by manipulating it.
Yes. So not manipulating it. Be specific there, Arwin. What I'm saying is, how can I manipulate acceleration?
So in
on
other
this cup of
words,
coffee?
there's no
You
way
can
to show
do that.
acceleration of the coffee cup sitting on my table unless I manipulate it.
Yes.
Oh, so what was that? What was that whole thing about scientific? What was it? Scientific method again?
I think I
actual
understand
experiments?
exactly what you're
Oh,
talking.
there you go.
Masty, this is exactly what you're saying. That when you try to move the coffee cup, there's some resistance there, right? That's what you're
No, I
talking
didn't
about.
say resistance. No.
Well, because I mean, what you might be talking about there is mass resistance.
Nope. Resistance is not something that was in there. But don't try to induce arguments.
Okay, well, what are you talking about then?
You live in a bubble.
Well,
man.
you
You live in a
you describe
fantasy
exactly what you're talking about. What is it that how are you manipulating the coffee cup to demonstrate gravity?
By adding or subtracting acceleration in a particular direction.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh, this guy lives in a
I'm
bubble.
done.
I can defend gravity better than this. I have defended.
Well,
gravity better than
here's
this.
what he's saying. Here's what he's saying. You have to move to show that it's at rest. That's what he's really saying.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hear. I have to move it to prove that it's
I'm sure.
actually
Okay, you guys,
moving.
you guys can
I have to take it out of its
presuppositions
resting
as you
position to move it to prove that it's moving when it's resting.
But you
Good
didn't
job,
move
buddy.
it. But you
But
didn't
I
move it.
didn't.
You just manipulated it.
This is
I
mental
hear
gymnastics on a
I
whole
hear
new
you guys
level right
getting
now.
really upset about
Jesus.
independent variables.
It's really
a
not
lot
that
with
original.
people. And now someone gives you an opportunity to manipulate an independent variable, right? And you
An
get all angry
independent
about it and say,
variable.
"Oh, this can't be manipulated. Why are you trying to get me to manipulate an
Oh
independent
God.
variable?" It's actually
The only
hilarious to listen to.
no, we're not
You
getting
guys talk
upset.
out both
We're not
sides.
getting upset. The only way to upset me is to play some rap. That would get me upset.
Okay,
Hey,
that makes no
calm
sense,
down.
but all right.
Yo,
What kind of
chocolate
rap?
in the house.
Hold on, what kind of rap?
Hey, chocolate, go to your car, and wait a day and see if the coffee cup accelerates towards you.
Yeah, I
10th
should do
man,
that.
that makes no sense.
Of course it doesn't.
You're the one that said the coffee cup sitting on my table is accelerating, and 10th man doesn't make any sense. You're crazy.
If I may play the devil's advocate because
I'm crazy,
my client
right? Okay,
not
makes
doing
sense.
a good job here, I can explain it much better. What he's what he's trying to do is explain to us is if you add other types of acceleration, then suddenly this apparent acceleration that is being presupposed suddenly can be, more tangible. It's how I originally
Accelerating?
defended gravity, that it has to be there due to how materials respond. And that's what he's trying to explain very clumsily.
So if you accelerate it, it's accelerating?
No, it's basically presuming that you're adding acceleration and thereby changing the axis of how material rearranges itself.
No, well, but that's
Relative
your
density
problem,
spectrum
Arlen.
axis.
It's not actually presuming it. You're actually watching it being manipulated. So you don't have to. You're not presuming anything. You're actually watching it being manipulated. You're actually seeing it being manipulated.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Dude.
Oh.
Look, if you want to properly defend gravity, then just listen carefully to what I said.
Wow.
I'm watching it happen. Oh my gosh, this is
Don't
great.
listen to Owen. He's like David in this regard for you with gravity.
At least I know how to properly presuppose it.
It's a reverse goose fallacy.
I think P. Meisty might have an audience for his case if he goes to Bellevue and Nurse Ratched introduces him.
Wow, this has went off the rails.
Man, where's this guy come off of that? Acceleration, cup of coffee. I mean, give me a
This
break.
damn cup of coffee is too fast for me, guys.
Oh, look, guys.
I can't catch my coffee, guys.
That's right. I'm not paying for that.
Hurry up,
No,
chocolate.
but you could consider that there is this apparent acceleration there if you completely discard the concepts of relative density. And then you assume, oh, look, it's accelerating whenever it gets free motion. And that means that acceleration is always present. And at the same time, the buoyancy effect countermands it in the opposite direction. Both presupposing that there is an apparent acceleration force going on at all times.
There's
But
no more
neither of the concepts and the structures provide any kind of tangible proof as to where this force really is manifesting and how.
There's no. When coffee was 5 cents a cup, you had free refills. Now there's no free motion. The chocolate's gonna have to accelerate and get another one.
Right.
I got 2 coffee cups right here in a car. It's not
Are they racing each other?
The black one's ahead. Watch.
Good one, Anand.
Is that racist? That sounded racist to me.
Racist. That's good. That was a good job.
Just the use of the word
Don't
black
be
doesn't make a
racist.
statement
Okay,
racist.
the
just
white one's
FYI.
ahead. Jesus Christ, you fucking tools.
I was okay with the black one ahead.
Swearing, please.
Come on.
Actually,
Vanilla,
you're
don't
right, Chocolate. I'll put the black one ahead. There you go.
You what? You put the black one ahead? Now that is racist.
Why?
Ed, don't blaspheme God's name again, please.
That was good. Anyway, go continue on about your coffees.
Is it black coffee?
What if you put one in the back seat and one in the front seat? What would happen if you go 30 miles an hour?
I think they both accelerate. So yeah, I think this guy's officially retarded.
You think?
Nah, more likely he's just lost.
Well, someone said it at some point. I'm sure it was early on. I can't remember who. Someone was like, "Okay, so is it moving in a fourth dimension?"
Yeah, that was the last thing.
Was
it's accelerating in the fourth dimension, right?
Well,
that's where I said fifth dimension, but you get it.
Supposition that.
It's moving into a place that you can't prove. That's what's happening. Moving into this place that can't be proven.
Well, that's
Well, apparently their gravity comes from the fourth dimension,
right? I want him to
right?
say it, though. I want him to qualify what's going on.
Oh, no, I was only joking about that. I was saying that if he's saying it's accelerating, he must be saying it's accelerating in the time dimension.
Yeah. What do you think is force? Where do you think his force that's accelerating it when you can't see it accelerating comes from? Where do you think that force that he's describing, a non-force of nothing happening, is coming from?
It sounds like Ramonian force space-time.
Right.
It's coming
We
from
mean
Narnia.
hold up, Nathan. Nathan, what do you mean by a non-force of nothing happening?
Got him now. Sorry, what was that?
What do you mean by a non-force of nothing happening?
I'm saying that the coffee cup's not moving a smegging inch. I thought that was clear.
Okay. Okay, so if there were no forces acting on it, right, absolutely nothing, then how could you add forces to that liquid to make it behave in predictable ways?
I could splash in it. I could do all sorts of things to it. I could just add a force to it. I could just do some stuff to it. What's your point? We're talking about it not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
so you're
not
saying
moving according to who?
Well, you're saying it does have a force being applied to it.
Yes, and we can measure that how?
Yeah, and that would be the force of gravity, would it
You're
not?
asking us? No, we're asking
Sorry,
you.
that would be the force of gravity,
No.
correct? Let's just get a concise yes.
Okay, yes.
If you have that coffee cup in a vacuum chamber and you slosh it around, that sloshing motion will happen a lot more violently because it doesn't have the pressure of the air stabilizing it. It's nothing to do with downward force.
So
it has nothing to do with downward
Sorry,
force.
please don't have a cross conversation. Thank you. So the force that's acting on this coffee cup doing nothing. We've got a concession. I'm just summarising, but already being rumpused. You see, the fundies detect by my tone that they're about to have their religious belief crapped on. So even when I'm getting a concise summary of the few concessions that the fundies made, yes, he is talking about the force of gravity acting on the coffee cup when it's not moving. So, next step, having had that concession, would be to say, what's gravity?
It's an acceleration.
And we're right back.
Why are you rumpusing him?
Exactly.
Don't rumpus him. What's
I didn't
gravity?
rumpus you.
Tell me about your conceptual space-time bending, my friend.
Okay, if you want to look at its cause, there you go. Yes, you can talk about its conceptual space-time bending.
Sorry, no need for anything more to be added to what you've just said. A conceptual medium bending is a cause of something? I think not, my friend. Do you not understand what the word conceptual means? I'm talking, Fundy. Just let me pull down my pants and poo on your religion about gravity. Yeah? You think that the conceptual medium bending is causing things, do you?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Oh, well, concepts don't cause things. They're concepts. Don't you understand what a concept is?
I understand what a concept is.
What's a concept?
Yes. What's your point?
What is a concept, Fundy?
Hey, Nathan, why don't you stop with the ad hominems and
excuse me,
human being for a second?
Yeah, you're telling me that you've got a cause of something, and it's the bending of a conceptual medium. Now I want you to define what a concept is, please.
A conceptual medium?
What's a concept? What's conceptual? What does that mean?
I think everybody probably has access to Google.
Tell me what a concept is, you fundy fuck.
No thanks.
I dropped the definition.
Oh, is it because your religion's just had me take a dump on it in your concession and definition of a concept? Is that why you won't tell me? Is it because it's the demolition of your religion, my friend? Is it because conceptual things aren't the cause of things? Is that why?
Up something on Google.
Are you just rumpusing me now, my friend? Yeah,
Why should you have to look something up on Google if you know what a concept is?
I'm gonna drag you kicking and screaming through your belief that
Nathan,
conceptual mediums
screaming is you.
can be causes of
The
things.
only one screaming is
and the
you.
way I'm going to do it while you rumpus me is by asking you again, politely and calmly, to define what a concept is. Please.
Towers, Papa.
How about we actually define what gravity is, which is the
We're doing that. Yeah, we've already done that. Yeah, it's the bending of a conceptual medium. I've already got that concession. Now we're trying to define what that means. Aren't we, Fundy? Aren't we, Fundy Rumpus? Aren't we, Fundy Rumpus? Yeah, Fundy, I'm taking you by the hand, Fundy, kicking and screaming, aren't I? And you don't like it, you want to wiggle and worm. You've defined it. You've defined it as a conceptual medium, and I want to know what you mean by conceptual.
I did not define it as a conceptual medium.
Oh,
No
really?
thanks. Nope.
What, space-time? You
Didn't
don't
do
think
that.
it's a conceptual medium?
I did not define it as a conceptual medium.
Oh, what is it then? You think it's a real medium?
What specific?
Don't stutter! Is it a real medium?
Actually, he did say conceptual medium.
Yeah, I
will
know he
confirm
said
that
conceptual.
did
He's
say
a
that.
lying sack of shit, Paul. I know it's being recorded. We all know these people are fundies and liars. I know that. You know that. Everyone listening knows he's just lied through his back teeth and did say conceptual.
Maybe it's
Okay, so hold up, Nathan. What is your
Squeal for me,
actual
Fundy.
question?
Squeal for me. What's conceptual mean?
No, Nathan. What's your
No, Nathan. Yes, Nathan. Yes, you're going to drag me kicking and screaming through my fundy belief in gravity.
Nathan, you're the only one screaming, not
I'm
me.
not screaming. I'm really calm with a big smile on my face, a grin, while I take your fundy belief in the bending of a conceptual medium being the cause of things.
No,
Stutter for me, Fundy. Squeal for me. Squeal for me. What does conceptual mean? That's the medium we're describing. Space-time, a conceptual medium. What is conceptual, Fundy?
Hey, Nathan.
Not hey, Nathan. What's conceptual mean?
Gravity, rather than you obfuscating.
We talked about gravity. Yeah, we know what it is. It's the bending of a conceptual medium known as space-time. The geometry for said bending of conceptual medium is pseudo-Ramonian force space. We are talking about gravity. That's precisely what we're talking about. The bending of a conceptual medium, and I want you, the fundy zealot, kicking and screaming, to define what
Did I say those
conceptual
words,
means.
Nathan? Hey, Nathan,
But you don't want to
that's
do it,
not
you
the
just
claim
want to
that I
rumpus
made.
it. Every time I ask about you defining what conceptual means, you seem to squirm. It's good for the audience, because they're going to wonder why you're squirming and not just defining it and telling people to Google it. Define it, Fundy. You're the one who's saying a conceptual medium bending can cause things. Now define what conceptual means.
No thanks.
Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar you don't want
called an L.
to. Because it rips apart your fundamentalist religious belief in a non-force force that gives rise to a force that isn't a force, but can be thought of as a force. Yeah, it's the bending of a conceptual medium, you Fundy.
You are repeating.
You're just stuttering like a stammering Fundy who's having his religion ripped to pieces based on the fact that it's conceptual!
And guess who the one is crying and kicking and screaming about it?
Not me, my friend. Yeah, you can't even define a word for us, can you?
No,
He
because,
hasn't
no, because
defined
you're trying to
anything.
obfuscate the
Scientific evidence he started out with.
Yeah.
He hasn't defined that.
Yeah, he hasn't defined shit yet.
It's my pleasure making this show, by the way.
So what was it the Master was saying? That a conceptual medium bends a real medium?
No, when did I say a conceptual medium bends a real medium? When did I say that?
Oh, I'll just say it then, because you're going to lie and say that you didn't say that when you did, and Paul's already pointed that out. Space-time is a conceptual medium. The geometry for that conceptual medium is pseudo-Ramonian force space. The pseudo bit being all you need to know about how real it is and whether or not it's going to be causing things.
Nathan, because you want to play theater. Nathan wants to play theater, so he induces.
Hey, fuck you. I'm just pointing out that your geometry is pseudo. Yeah, that's what I'm pointing out. This space-time is pseudo. It's not real. Yeah? It's not got any validity. It's not got any science behind it. It's just conceptual. Not that we've got the fundy on the panel who's now telling me it's theatre. Yeah, it is theatre, mate. The demolition of your sphere belief is theatre.
Look at that. Paul has the definition of space-time on his screen.
And I have the definition of pseudo-Romanian manifold, as it's called, by the way.
I don't know. That second word right there kind of sucks.
Concepts, yeah, that's what I was saying. The concepts of time and three-dimensional space regard it as fused in fourth-dimensional continuum.
So Mr. I wasn't talking about concepts is actually talking about a concept. That's nice.
Yeah, of course he is. He's talking about gravity, but when we point out that it's conceptual, he then says, no, we're talking about gravity here. Yeah, it's conceptual, isn't it, mate? It doesn't cause nothing. It's not real. Exactly. It's just a concept. Yeah? You understand, Fundy? It's not real. Your whole worldview's based on concepts. Yeah? You're just a fundamentalist religious zealot with a belief that you live on a sphere. That's why I keep calling you Fundy. It's not an ad hom. It's a fact. That's why you've obfuscated every word I've said and rumpus me and said that I'm doing theatre, rather than addressing the fact that you've got a conceptual medium causing things.
Yeah, the problem about gravity is that you could say that the search for gravity and the proof of it is like trying to enter a conceptual black hole. It's completely black. Everything is absorbed and you can't see there. And when you try to go there, supposedly time slows down, so you can never reach it. And that is the proof for gravity.
Yeah. It's like describing...
And everybody gets all excited in their attempts. Oh, yeah, we're going... Oh, look at the effects. Oh, so they're all
it's like
revel in the
adults going
concept
to Narnia,
of
isn't it, Arwen?
conceptual gravity while trying to find
That's it,
gravity
repeat it.
and never finding it.
Yeah. So it's like trying to go to Narnia when you're an adult, then.
I think a black hole is much more fitting.
Yeah, the hole is analogous to a
function.
black hole. When you're a child, you can go through the wardrobe, right? You know, it's like trying to go through and you just reach the back of the wardrobe and go, I don't get it. Why isn't it there?
But isn't it ironic how the ultimate expression of gravity, which is a black hole supposedly, is very much like trying to find the proof for gravity? You slow down as soon as you try to approach it, and you just can't get there. It's just impossible.
The more we talk about it, the more real it becomes.
Everyone trying to find this proof for gravity is getting themselves ripped apart.
And then you turn to spaghetti.
Somebody's joined with their watch page on or whatever. Got a load of feedback from someone in Discord.
Serious.
Mom spaghetti.
I don't know. I thought it was a fitting analogy.
Well done, Owen.
How did it get on with anybody finding any evidence for, housekeeping questions?
We got two. We got any scientific evidence of gravity, and then we got to any evidence of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container. And then we had 3.5 hours of total bollocks.
Any evidence of the R value? Any evidence of the R value?
Arwen.
Hey, Arwen. Have you checked out Brenda's rampage last night yet?
God, no.
I saw
Brenda had a rampage?
Can somebody in Skype just send me a link to the exact stamp so that I don't have to watch all through it?
I mean, the bit I watched
Honestly,
was
if it was an American shopping mall, she'd have been that guy with like the assault rifle just going around spraying everyone.
Where was this?
On Ranties last night. After show. But
damn!
I got to the end.
I tuned out around about the time that she was arguing about the arbitrary scale measuring device used for your extraction and denying the fact that adding something is visually obviously. I mean, it's Right the Hand, I remember liking Right the Hand, and I still do. And when he's saying things, look, there's the proof that he's changed the density, it's visually obvious. Oh no, I don't trust your scale. Well, who cares about the scale? It's visually obvious. He's done it. There it is. No, I'm not accepting it. You're like, what the hell? What kind of people are we dealing with? They'll literally hand wave dismiss something in front of their face. I mean, why am I surprised, right? Lighthouse? No. Slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of a lighthouse from beyond Earth curve. Yeah? Why would I be surprised that she's denying something that's happening in front of her face?
They're living in their ball imagination, and every time they try to communicate with us, they're just carefully trying to immigrate their imagination into the real world until they figure out, oh, it's not working. Then they quickly retract again in their broken record remarks.
What I found amazing was that she refuses to accept that, by putting in the solution, the granules, it did increase the mass because you're putting mass into it. She wouldn't accept that because she saw it, and she wouldn't accept that she would only have a point if she didn't see that bit, and she had to believe that I put mass in. But the reality is, nobody else on her side accepts that, or nobody else doesn't accept that I increased the mass when I put something in it.
Right. Solipsism.
You know what I'm actually thinking of
Wait,
doing?
are we talking about the egg in the cup?
Yeah.
What are we talking
Thinking
about?
of doing a rerun where I get the egg back into its state where it's suspended.
Just to answer chocolate. Sorry, Anthony. Just to answer chocolate. You could translate this onto any of the fundies that we deal with. Feel free to just insert name here.
Okay. I missed it, so I didn't see what you did.
Well, put it this way, chocolate. Do you remember when Arwin did his rage win and it went around? Everyone saw it for about a week.
Yeah.
It was comparable to that.
What? No way.
Where
And
she
what
got
was that
mad?
bad? That was just
Like she
really
was pissed off? Really?
It was comparable to Arwin.
Wow, okay. And what the reason what? What was the reason?
Because they were both over speaking each other. On the right hand referred to her in the masculine rather than the feminine. He might have done it on purpose. Might not have done, but he might have done. And she got offended by that, told him to fuck off. And then his response was to call her an it rather than a masculine or a feminine. And that's when she just went fucking mental.
Ooh, so I missed all the fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
got there
that's
late.
a bit disappointing. So let me get it straight. The conclusion of the argument was her being able to play martyr because somebody misgendered her. What a crock of shit. So not an ending with right the hand obliterating her based on some nonsense that she's asserted from the sphere religion, but more an ad hominem attack on her disclosed gender. Wonderful.
Yeah. A shit show.
Right hand correctly pointed out that at the point where she took the victim card and played it like a beast, he had her in a circular reference, a circular reasoning argument that she couldn't get out of. And he's absolutely right. If you go back and listen to it, he has her and he's getting more and more pissed off because she won't accept the infinite regress that she's in. So in the end, I think that when he's referred to her in the masculine, he's done it because he's pissed off that she will not accept that she's in a circular reasoning. And I can kind of understand that because she denies and will never, ever concede any point. A bit like Rumpus. Although he actually does sometimes concede points. But yeah, right the hand lost his temper with her because she will not accept that she was in an infinite regress fallacy, and he pointed it out to her twice and she still won't accept it, and he got pissed off with her.
Wait, so this was last night, right? Not the original Right the Hand versus Brenda. This was yesterday.
No, last night on Ranty's channel, about 18 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
I'll get you the link.
Whee.
It was. Have you seen that clip where that misgendered bloke in a shop goes fucking
It's
mental?
man.
Yeah, it's man. Yeah, it was just like that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
And he still calls her a bloke. He still says to her in the masculine.
But that guy is huge. He's could be like a rugby player or something.
Can we not labour this? Who gives a shit, right? My disappointment was the fact that rather than the argument being won, that's why they obfuscate and will never back down, because eventually she can now claim victory for this garbage.
Well, that's my view as well. I don't think that Right the Hand really committed any more foul than she was doing by simply refusing to accept that she was an infinite regress fallacy. He just got pissed off with her.
Ruin the conversation?
Say again?
She's
So he
insistent on
ruin the
saying
conversation?
flat is a shape, and this was the problem. She was like, "Show me red, show me brown." You know, so she realized she'd made a huge error in saying flat is a shape, and then Right the Hand just took advantage from there, and it broke down from there, I think.
Right.
She'll be back. She'll be back on the circuit.
Yeah, she always is.
I've got to get used to changing that, man. I keep saying at the beginning of the intro.
To get on my show this morning.
I keep saying the shape of the Earth, and I've got to get out of the habit. It's nature of Earth, because flat's not a shape.
So basically, if you go to 25 minutes onwards, you can see the build up to it. You can see that right the hand gets her trapped in an infinite regress fallacy. She won't accept it. He points it out at least twice, and I think he's on to his third time of trying to get her to accept that she's in an infinite regress. And he gets pissed off, and he refers to her in the masculine, which I think was, to be fair, I think it was probably his way of saying, "Fuck you, you're fucked here, and you won't admit it, so I'm just going to insult you." So she tells him to fuck you back or fuck off, or the typical reaction that you would expect. And then he said he then refers to her as it, and then that was when she became Mount Etna. It was just like the biggest volcanic eruption I've ever seen, apart from Arwen, and even then it probably supersedes Arwen.
It's not that bad.
It was really bad, Arwen. Honestly, you should watch it and just sit back and think that you're not the only one that loses the temper periodically, because Brenda's done it.
Yeah, but not that bad. No way.
Honestly.
Nah, Arwen has never lost temper. She went.
I get pissed off sometimes, but I never go too far.
If she's sitting down, just say, "Shut up." Shut the front door. Shut the front door. Shut up. So, but it was bad though. I mean, again, you could see the frustration.
Kill people or something.
I think as well, just he kept saying things like manifest, because we were talking about does gravity, how does it manifest, and obviously, right, the hand took advantage of that word, but she'll be back, I think, if Jose comes on, or if Ranty comes back on, maybe if Ranty has I wonder if Ranty would have her back on. Do you think he'll have her back on, Auntie?
Oh, just FYI, sorry, QE. Jose shared your show, by the way.
I'm sorry, Amit. Say that one more time.
So like everybody, I hit up everybody saying, "Can you mirror the advert for the QE channel launch?" And he got back in touch. He was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm out and about at the moment, but I've shared the show XYZ." I was like, "Oh, thank you very much."
Really?
Yeah. Jose's underneath it all. Jose's actually quite a good guy.
He's okay. He has issues, but he's okay. He's been very nice to me.
That's why a lot of people are like, "Oh, why do you entertain Jose?" It's like, my relationship with Jose didn't change when he changed his position. He's still the same dude, so my feelings haven't really changed towards him.
I just wonder what his intention is, because he must look at these arguments that we give and just dismiss them all flippantly like they all do. But I don't know how you can once you've been on our side.
Defining motivation,
I think I get a bit what Jose is trying to do with his platform. He sees the necessity of all the channels being out here. So he's not like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take all of you down and absorb all of your followers to my channel." No, he's not like that at all. He literally feels like, okay, if I just have my show that's more baller tolerant, and then have the flat earth debates, and then they can come to me. And so he understands that we are all colleagues in this together. I think he definitely understands this.
I hope so. I laboured it to him enough. It was me that pointed that out. I was like, "Look, we can all be symbiotic," I think that's the word, in terms of the way we produce our material and work in a way that advantages everybody. It's all a bit kumbaya, but it's true.
Yeah. And that's what he's been doing so far. So
Good to hear. Because he became a dick for a bit, but everybody's got that inside them somewhere.
he just has a mood sometimes, where he gets really trollish, and then after a few days, that's gone again. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Indeed.
So yeah, anyway, good channel launch. Lots of people helped out. Lots of people shared. Lots of people mirrored the video advert that I made. Really chuffed. Hopefully, Ballbusters went well yesterday. Tune in 6 days' time if you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980.
I'll admit, at first I didn't realize it was going to be a rerun. So when I I turned it on and I heard Slick, and I was just like, what? What's going on? What did I miss?
I was super pissed off that you didn't invite me to this live stream premiere.
Yeah, you'd had a few beers, hadn't you? And you didn't realise it was live.
Yeah,
Not live,
because
sorry.
I was still a bit drunk.
He sent me a Skype message. Aaron was like,
not me.
I don't know if you talked about it live or something or moaned about it, because you sent me a message that said, why aren't I invited? And I got back in touch and was like, it wasn't live. What are you on about? You're like, oh, wasn't live? Oh, I'd obviously had too much to drink. But you'd obviously moaned about it because someone else mentioned it to me.
Yep, it happens. I did have a lot of fun, though.
There's loads of people watching. There's like 150 people at one stage. Not bad for a channel with under 1,000 subscribers.
No, and I was surprised. I had forgotten about that show, about what we did on that show. It was really good. So I'm glad we started off with that one. Now, it won't be that way in the it'll be this way in the immediate future, but at some point I will start doing live shows. I'm just not to that point yet. So just to let everyone know.
Well, for now,
are you going to
Ballbusters-
do it on your own, or are you going to be just with Nathan like usual?
I was just about to qualify that. So, yeah, for the time being, I'll produce Ballbusters as I did while John's getting used to how to stream. So that's essentially what's going to happen. It just means that John gets a fighting chance with me actually producing the show of having live streams in the first instance, because with that, I hope I'm not offending you. John doesn't know how to do it yet, which is fine. That's everybody's position at the start, right?
No, you're not offending me at all. I'm clueless. I don't have a problem saying that.
Yeah, everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. Being able to accept that you don't know how to do something is usually how you get good at it pretty quickly.
You just got to find the right track. And once you get in there, it just gets rolling and rolling.
I'll tell you what, I am going to title my live shows so I can find them. Arwen, Nathan.
What do you want? We have daily shows, right? Not
John,
enough
you
to
just need to learn how to
compare
use the
the
open
content.
transcript option.
I do know how to use the open transcript option. What does that mean?
John, did you see Brenda last night having a meltdown?
Oh God, you're obsessed. You're obsessed. You only mentioned it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, but I've not heard John.
Queen Riley.
I've not heard John. I want to hear John's view.
I did. I was looking for background noise as I was uploading.
So your background noise was, fuck off! Shut up!
Yeah, I couldn't take it. I only listened to a few minutes of it. That was, yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I've never seen Brenda like that.
Are we still recording, by the way?
I was going to say, we're coming up on 2 hours. I was just umming and ahhing about whether or not to round out this show here.
Right.
Yeah, round out the show, but let's chat offline anyway. Just because it's worth chatting about.
That's what the after show is. It's supposed to be us just chatting offline. if I close the show, do you know what I'm going to do?
After real juicy gossip.
I'm going to disappear. That's what I'm going to do.
I couldn't hear you. They were rumpusing you. What you say, Nathan?
I just said if once it's over, i.e. it's not us just chit-chatting in an after show that's not going out live, precisely what we're doing, that's when I want to stop. I want to go. I don't want to carry on sat here. No offense. I love what I do and all, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have a time slot for when this was? I'll present
the build up is at 15 minutes, but it kind of gets to the climax at about 22 minutes.
Really? That early?
Yeah, flick to 22 minutes and you'll hear her saying, fuck off! Shut up! Shut up! Honestly,
right.
it's
By recording, can you stop swearing?
Oh, what happens to swearing? Do you get demonetized as a result?
No, I just prefer.
No, you get kicked.
You don't get. Well, no, we're not live. It's not. I have to clarify that now. The only reason for the "don't swear or you'll get kicked" rule is when something like what happened with Brenda happens. Somebody's completely triggered and swearing their head off. It's my excuse to kick them out. So when people are like, "You didn't kick him for swearing," I'm like, he's not swearing because he's triggered as all hell. And even though in some instances it might be that they're starting to get triggered and starting to swear, but then normally I'll say no swearing, and that is my code for calm down, you triggered idiot, or I'll have to kick you out. But I don't want to say that because if you do, it triggers them worse. So no
Right.
swearing is much more subtle, and my way of being able to, last resort, kick them out if they can't control themselves, or if they've been triggered for ages, it's my opportunity once they do swear to kick them out.
I know, but to be fair, I was quoting her verbatim.
I know, I'm not moaning at you. I'm just, by about the 5th time you've quoted a verbatim, it's just like, come on.
I like it. It was fueled with petrol. It was like she was really angry. I've never seen her like that in my life. I was just like, and then I come up with some cracking one-liners like, yeah, but that doesn't make gravity a force, Brenda.
Yeah, that's more like it. That cheers me up. Because I just, I don't want to see Brenda pissed off because somebody's misgendered her. It's like, why give her that bloody crutch to lie on?
Oh,
well, that was what happened.
What you preach there,
Yeah,
Nathan. Just like
I'd rather see her
some
pissed
friendly
off because she
advice.
can't describe how shoe is a natural phenomenon.
Did I write the hand?
That's
Hold
much
on.
better.
Did I hear write the hand's voice?
I was just saying, Nathan, why don't you practice what you
wait
preach
a-
a little bit there? I think like that would be nice for the debate.
I had a question.
I
Did
didn't
somebody?
hear that.
Did
Just
somebody?
hold on,
I
John.
had a question.
Just one more time. The person from Discord. Can you just repeat yourself, please?
Yes, I said practice what you preach, Nathan. Like, I agree, people swearing in a debate isn't really that great, but like, you're kind of violator number one when it comes to that.
No,
Oh,
he's
fuck
not.
you.
You
Yeah,
didn't
he
listen
is.
to what he said. Jeez,
Right, man.
oh man, you can't even understand English. Listen, I had a question. Did somebody insult? Why did she started go? I don't know why she started going off like that.
Oh, let me
I've listened to
summarise
it. I've listened back 3 times. This is what happened.
Here we go.
This is what happened, right? Right, the hand got her caught in a circular reasoning argument, and he tried to point it out to her and get her to admit it twice. And I think he was on his 3rd occasion, and he wasn't getting anywhere. She wasn't going to back down. She was deny, and he was getting pissed off. He referred to her in the masculine. She picked up on it and reacted by saying "fuck off" in a typical Brenda aggressive kind of way. He then referred to it as "it," and then she just exploded as a result of it, and then used the "it" reference as the excuse. But we
Riley,
referred to
instead
her-
of just hearing
Wait a
this the
second.
3rd time,
No,
we can
no,
just
no.
play it live right here.
Yeah, we
it's
should just
not.
sit back and just wank over it.
No,
It was
thank you.
brilliant.
No, thank you.
No?
Right, go ahead,
So
John.
so somebody called her it.
No,
Basically.
that was secondary. The primary offence was he called her in the masculine, which may have been intentional because she was refusing to admit that she was in a circular reference fallacy. But because she wouldn't admit it, he was getting pissed off. So I think he was poking her with it. So he might have done it intentionally, but it was kind of justified because she will not accept that she was wrong. So it swings and roundabouts. They were both
Calling
wrong
somebody
to each other.
it is not justified.
Forget that.
round
Who
out the
cares?
show and just watch it.
Who cares? Right.
Yeah.
My point is simple, right? The reason that they will deny, because eventually you'll get to that point. Obviously, I'm guilty of this. I'm speaking from experience here. So that they get you pissed off. So that you will misgender them in this instance. So that's not the focus of my point. My point is that by deny, the tactic that she took, she reached a point where she could cry foul and declare victory. Now, is it a hollow victory? It's not important. Why give her that?
Right, I'm tracking with you. He just provided an excuse for her to get out of it. Right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Why not? Why not hold our toes to the fire indefinitely? I mean, don't get me wrong. I get guilty of it too when people just will not concede. But now I'm more like whatever it was 20 minutes ago when the guy's like, "No, I won't define what a conceptual medium is." That's just the point that you just go, "Fine, I'll keep you here indefinitely," and just laugh. But he obviously got pissed off. Now I'm not moaning at right the hand. It's natural human behaviour. However, it still has to be pointed out that just gives her an opportunity to cry foul, be the martyr, and therefore claim that she's taken a victory away from it, which she hasn't.
Right. Yep. All right. Next subject.
Should I have rounded the chart 5 minutes ago?
Oh, you did.
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to keep going for another hour. My wife's not here. She's took the kids to the farm.
So we're not live. So we're not non-live.
No, we're as what is known as live.
As live.
As live. This is you're not saying something now that I'm going to edit later. So in other words, how the audience hears what's happening now, they might as well have been sat in an audience position live because what they're receiving is as live. But for the fact that the button with live is being pressed, they're getting the same thing. So it's as live. That's the term it.
So everyone, your audience is going to eventually hear this.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. That would be a good way to describe it.
That is how you describe it, as live.
So as live, but I can still think of it as live, or is it as live?
As live. What does as mean?
I'm just
all the live recording.
We are live now, right? As in, we're all alive doing this, and it's not going to be edited, therefore presented to the audience as live.
Yes.
Sweet.
Live
I got it.
recording. It's all live recording. And if it's actually live, it's a live stream.
The other reason I asked is because I had an admin question. You know my admin question, but that's okay. We can get into that afterwards. That's fine. It's a minor issue.
I don't mind. Feel free to discuss an admin issue on a recording. I don't mind.
Nah, because I want to go there. I want to get this time situation with these videos squared away. I think I'm just missing something simple.
I would say whatever the issue is, if you're experiencing the time zone being correct and the time you're putting at is 2 p.m. Central, with it being set as Central as the time zone, but yet it's appearing as 4 p.m., which it is, it's appearing as 10 p.m. for me, then just set it back 2 hours earlier. Because it's on a countdown timer, so it says X number of hours till the broadcast. Well, if that number of hours is just off by 2, regardless of the reason, just set it back by 2 hours, I would.
Yeah, I go back into edit. See, I'm hitting edit video. And I'm headed in here and it says August 10th, 2019. And I hit 2 p.m. It says underneath United States GMT 0700. So what the hell?
Okay, so what it's doing is it's either taking... Yeah, because we're in BST. And you're in whatever you're in, your time zone.
Central US.
It's going to be a 2-hour difference between what they're taking, which is the original GMT time, rather than BST. So it seems like I would just lob 2 hours off it.
Take it back to 12?
Yeah, put it at 12 and just see how that goes.
Let's see what I got here. I got it at 2 p.m. Go back to 12.
If it goes wrong,
12.
It just means it'll go out 2 hours earlier. It's not the end of the world while you're settling in, but given enough time, you want them all, obviously, to all go out at the same time as advertised, 2 p.m. Tuesday and 2 p.m. Thursday Central Standard Time. Are you in Central Standard Time at the moment?
I'm in U.S. Central Standard Time.
Right.
So I just changed it. So I put it to 12 p.m.
Okay, hopefully that's... I'll go and have a check in a minute, and I'm in no doubt that it'll say that it's going to air at 8 p.m. UK. So that's hopefully going to solve the problem.
Yeah, we didn't have any problems with that before, though.
No, again, I know it's probably very dull for the audience, but so what? We're 2 hours into a show. It's the committed people watching right now. So the resolution thing, I don't know what caused that. So normally what happens is you upload a video and then its resolution, if would stay low if you were to set it to premiere half an hour later rather than an hour later, so it hasn't had time to render the high resolutions. But with that video, it had been rendered for an eternity before it went out as a premiere, so I don't really understand why it went out at really low res, but it did, and then almost immediately turned to 1080 after it had finished the premiere. I don't know why.
I don't know either, because I went back in there because I downloaded them all in HD. I went back in there, and on my channel, it was also low res, but the other ones aren't, if you can follow that.
Oh, well, that's good then, because that means the chances are that when they actually air, they'll all be high res as well. So it's just an anomaly, perhaps. Who knows? Who cares? As long as they go out. It just pains me to see it go out in low res, because you can't read the chat, and if it's text-based, the text is fuzzy. Just
right.
Annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying. You're exactly right. Yep. So we'll check it out with the next one. I think it'll be okay. I just want to get the times down. We could talk about that later. I don't want to do that with the show. We can square it away in 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, there'll be all sorts of tedious, boring bullshit to look at. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. I'm going around here like a blind damn monkey. going through YouTube. It's somewhat intuitive. It's not all that bad. I just need to get experience with it. That's all.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's okay. Are you there, Anthony?
Yeah.
That sounded like Arwin.
Yeah. It is me.
I am here, yeah.
Oh, mighty.
Sorry,
I got a
Arwin.
question for you guys. How do you can you mirror like how do you mirror a video from YouTube? Like I wanted to. I mean, I don't know.
You
how to
don't
do that.
unless it's yours.
You
that
don't
again?
unless it's yours.
You don't unless it's yours.
Oh, what?
Don't.
I've seen people mirror. I've seen people mirror other videos. Wait, how does that work?
Well,
Taking a gamble.
Well, you're taking a gamble, I
Oh.
suppose. You can do it, but it's not yours, right? I mean, don't get me wrong.
Well,
there's
I'm
certain things-
saying, like when you said to, mirror that the preview for Quantum's, like I would have put it on my page, but I don't know how to mirror a video.
You upload it.
You just
You
upload
download
it
it
on
on
a
your
particular.
computer
that
and
is
you
Nathan's
drag it.
video.
So I would have to download it first, right?
Well, I put it in Skype with that particular instance. I was like, here it is. You just need to click on it and it'll download in Skype. I put it in about 50 different places. But there we go. I'm smiling while I say it, Chocolate. I know what you're asking. You're saying you come across a video in YouTube. How do you actually take a section of it and steal it? Well, I'm not going to dedicate that to air. Sorry, I'll tell you afterwards.
No, not even a section, just the video itself.
Yeah, but that's.
But then again, I don't. When I'm on this, I'm usually on my phone anyway, so maybe that's why I can't do it.
Yeah, you've got to do it on a PC for a start, but I'm not going to encourage people to do it either. If it's not yours, don't have it. Is what is my advice. But in that instance, I'm saying to people, mirror this video, and I'm sending it to them on things like Skype to make it clear and obvious that it's and easy for you to download. You just have to click on one of those. I mean, I'm sure there was better ways of promoting and publicising that launch, but I'm only one man, and I thought I made it clear. Maybe
No, that's cool. I wanted to try to do it myself too, because I don't have any content on my page, so it was like I don't know how to do this. But
So the reason why people mirror the videos is because they're afraid that YouTube's gonna take the videos down because of their conspiracy content or whatever, or that kind of reason. So that's why they mirror it. So if they take it from one channel, it exists, and most people like with that kind of content, they want their stuff to be propagated through. So it's different than like taking someone's show and putting it up there.
So it would be a mirror would be different than uploading it as my own video. I got you.
No, it would be the same thing, but it's like you write mirror, and people know it's not your content. Like I've seen, Seventh Day I forget what it's called. There's a YouTube channel with all these conspiracy videos and a bunch of other people. They Russian vids. Those guys all like mirror each other, So just
but with permission,
in case one channel disappears.
Yeah, if you want to use someone else's content, you've got to have their permission. So you're talking slightly cross purposes. So you're talking about how a truther on YouTube, coincidentally, might be on many other different platforms. He's just a truther. He just wants his message to get out, and he's worried that his message, because it's controversial, or her message, might get censored, so they want it mirrored. I'm not that guy. I'm a YouTuber. I am here to make money. I've never denied it. I want to be a successful YouTuber. So therefore, the content that I produce is my content, and that's paramount. Yep. It's really important. So as an example, Ibon Kim got pissed off after he lost an argument here, and then took, like a show we're doing now, it's being pre-recorded, it's going to go out at a later stage, but he put it up before I'd even published it, which pissed me off royally, and I'm like, I'm going to copyright strike you. Got in touch with him with Skype, and took a screenshot of the copyright form filled out, ready to be sent. And I was like, I'm not going to send it, I'm going to ask you to remove your video. And he did. So I just clicked on X and didn't copyright strike him because he removed it. But ultimately, that's what I wanted. I want the content removed because it's my content, and I want to produce it and then publish it. I don't want him to publish it because I'm here as a YouTuber. Now, the subject I cover, I'm very passionate about as a YouTuber, and that's Flat Earth. So I'm not going to say in any way, shape or form that means that it diminishes my passion for this subject. It doesn't. But it doesn't change my motivation on YouTube. I want to be a successful YouTuber. So my material is my work. That's how it is. So when I say don't cut stuff out and mirror it unless it's yours. I mean that sincerely. That's the attitude I take. I'm really fussy about it. That's why on the live shows I'm like, don't play this video. It's not mine. It's not mine to play. I haven't produced it. Why should I have it on my show making money for me? It's not mine.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, no biggie. I just wanted to ask because I wanted to try to see if I could help out with the launch.
I know, you're saying it from the goodness of the bottom of your heart, and I understand that, Chocolate, and I appreciate that sincerely. But it's a useful opportunity purely because this is going out to an audience to just point out that if I just let it slide, no offence, none, but what you said, you know, you're in about 3 different breaches of YouTube guidelines by saying that. I know it because I know the YouTube guidelines really well. I've been on YouTube for 11 years producing videos. It's taken this long to get a minute amount of success out of it, which is great. But that's just life on YouTube. But it means that, you know, breaking the rules is just you opening yourself up to have your channel shut down, and that's why you get Truth to say mirror my stuff. It's like, right, why? Because you've had your channel shut down? Well, there's only one reason for that. You're not abiding by the YouTube guidelines.
Well, some of those guidelines are you can't talk about certain things.
Say again, some of those guidelines, what?
You know, some of the guidelines is like, if you talk about like the shootings or whatever, and you say something like that, then they take it down. It has nothing to do with like copyright or anything. It's kind of bullshit laws, but it's a different story.
Guys, I'm gonna go.
Lays. So
thanks, Owen.
Yeah.
Yeah. See you tomorrow. Do check out Early Bird Show.
Later, Arwen.
Title it.
Well, it's not going to be 4 more hours then, is it? Given that I've just completely decimated all conversation. Anybody want to plug anything? I'm about to round out on that note.
I'll just say I'll see you guys in a week. I'm going to be going to the beach, so hopefully you guys have fun in the next week or so. I'll try to pick up on the show if I can while I'm going.
Excellent. Where you going?
Don't get any.
Where you going?
Isle of Palm in South Carolina. It's a beautiful little out-of-the-way beach. Not real busy.
It's very nice.
Watch out for those accelerating coffees.
Oh, I know.
And calculate Earth's rotation too.
Right, there's definitely people on this panel that need to be plugging things. Surely there's people with channels. You're one of them, QE.
Yeah, I'm not good at plugging, but for Ball Busters tomorrow, be here or be sphere.
And where's here?
Here is on the Quantum Eraser channel. Boy, that sounds strange. Be here at 2 p.m. U.S. Central, 8 p.m. UK time. It's going to be a bang.
Excellent plug. That wasn't bad at all. And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure... gather up my frog in my throat. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!